As the song goes, keep it rollin', 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 rollin'. What? Keep it rollin', 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 SLS. Keep it rollin', 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 the future of Starship. And keep on rollin', rollin', rollin' the intro, Kevin.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly! Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome, everybody, to the Flame Trench. This is our weekly news show where we go over all the exciting things that are happening in spaceflight. We talk about them with you, and we usually end up going off the rails. So, as well as the show likes to keep it rolling, yeah, it does roll off the tracks a bunch. But thank you very much for joining us here. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host back again after my absence from last week. And yeah, last week, I mean, that was a packed show. So many people on. I don't know how you could deal with so many commentators on a single episode. I mean, right, EJ? I don't know how you did it. Joining us, EJ, by the way, the host of the EJ Trench as of last week.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You did pretty good. I got to watch a little bit of it.
Oh,
was out getting ready for what'll end up being our first topic, but yeah, did pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, that was fun. Is it bad if I manage to go off the rails on a show with just me hosting?
No, I think that's about right. It makes sense.
But see, okay, I mean, so if we did go off the rails, why would they be rails? Aren't we on a crawlerway?
Well, today we are, yeah.
Because of the first topic, am I right? All right, anyway. Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, up. Wait, hang on. Which, no, that way.
Wait. Whoosh, whoosh. And we are not synced at all. And you know what? It's
Not
okay.
even close.
It's okay. It's all right. We're winners. Winners get to do what they want.
Am I allowed to also do it? Hang on. Even before presentations, I'm just going all in here, I guess. But
By
yeah.
the way, Alex joining us today. How's it going?
Yeah,
Alex?
so this show is gonna be two Americans and a human, I guess. But anyways, making sense of a certain joke. But anyways, so yeah, SLS, right? It's right behind me here. It's right behind me, right?
Yeah, it's staring at you. It's just looking at you.
It's staring at it menacingly.
Yep.
Anyway, as is always the case, of course, if you have questions, tag us at NASASpaceflight at NSF. We just ask that you try and keep it to the topic that we're talking about at the moment. There's a lot of good stuff coming. I know, of course, we always talk about Starship. That's towards the end. Oh yeah, Kevin Michael Reed is the one pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and trying not to freeze to death in the Northeast with the cold front coming in. Yeah, I guess you too, EJ. Anyway, let's get...
It's so cold.
It is really cold.
It's like so cold.
Eh.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. It's gorgeous here.
No, Alex, you didn't get. I say frio, mucho frio. Okay.
I've been there, done that. So
Yeah, I know, man.
yeah.
Ooh, now I
Already
want
been
Fritos.
through that
Thank you.
cold.
It's
It's snowing here in Spain too. Not here in Seville. We never get snow. Anyways, speaking of very cold things, Sawyer.
Cold things? What do you mean? This is a hot topic right now. And of course, that is the Space Lunch System, or Space Launch System, depending on your preference and typos. Yes, we are talking about SLS and Artemis 2, one step closer to the moon. And, well, I guess more than one step, it's about 4.2 miles closer at this point, as we finally had the rollout of SLS. And you can see it there. This is a live view right now looking at Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This past Friday, teams rolled it out of the vehicle assembly building and took the trek on the crawlerway over to Launch Complex 39B. On top of that, Alabama River Rock making the slow roll on its way out. You could see it birthing from the VAV, emerging in all of its orange goodness. And boy, is it a sight to see. I mean, I'm just going to say this sidetrack for a moment here. I was there for the Artemis 1 roll, or one of them, and it was cool. It's amazing. It's a brand new rocket. This is eventually going to take humans to the moon. It feels different this time. Now it's not a rocket that will eventually take humans around the moon. This is a rocket that will take humans around the moon. And it just felt different. You could feel more excitement. You could feel the crowd's intensity in it. I mean, people just kept coming and coming and coming to see it. It was a huge crowd out for it. And to see that excitement again is amazing. And I've seen all the parallels of, you know, seeing the Saturn V rollout compared to Artemis rollout. And it was just absolutely special. So I just wanted to interrupt with that. But yes, it took the nearly 12-hour journey out. Everything went relatively smooth. They did the crew swing arm test, as you can see there, removing the crew access arm. Then they moved it back for a bit, and then eventually swung it all the way out. There's the in. Hey, that looks a bit like Alex's background. And then on the way out, they continued the roll. But everything went very smooth with the roll itself. The crew talked a little bit during the roll about their excitement ahead of the mission, and we'll talk more about what they had to say. But next up after this is going to be the wet dress rehearsal, which as of now is no earlier than February 2nd. That is when they will, there's all the people by the way, that is when they will load it up with all of the propellants, the liquid oxygen, the liquid hydrogen, and do a wet dress, load it up with propellants, see how it's going to do. And yeah, as long as all goes well with that, then they will set a launch date, which is no earlier than February 6th. And NASA has been very clear to randomly reply to so many people on every social media pointing out, hey, the 6th is kind of just a target. That doesn't mean we are launching on the 6th. I've seen them respond to like 30 different posts with that, from people who have a large following to people that have like 12 followers. It's kind of weird. And there is the crew. You can see with their America 250 patch, basically celebrating 250 years of America, including Jeremy Hansen, who is Canadian. So, just the irony of that. But yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel real now. Before we get on to more topics related to SLS, I just, thoughts on the roll. I mean, it's starting to feel real to me, at least.
I'm ready. Sawyer, I don't know about you. I'm ready. Let's do this. This is where this, guys, like this is Apollo 8. It's our Apollo 8 moment. This is where it starts to get real. This is where this is happening. Can you believe it? I don't know about you guys. I've been dreaming about this moment. I get it. They're not landing on the moon, but it's a flyby. It's people outside of low Earth orbit. I've been dreaming about this for decades. Some people longer than me. You know, I only came in at, you know, the 80s, right? Some people have been dreaming about this since 1973. You know, like the year after they stopped landing. So this is, it's good, man. But, you know, let's see how the wet dress rehearsal goes and, yeah, go from there. Alex, how you feeling?
I'm scared, but in the good sense, in that, you know, when we went through Artemis 1, there were multiple rollouts, and even the rollouts themselves had issues and things like that. This rollout was only delayed by a few minutes from the first motion, and it arrived to the pad really smoothly. There were a few issues that were reported on site about pumps and things like that on some of the systems and whatnot, but those were resolved as they were going through the crawlerway and things like that. Like, there were things that they were able to solve pretty much on the fly. So it was a lot smoother than any of the other rollouts that I remember from Artemis 1. Like, everything is so far still going, like, yeah, they're finding issues, of course, because, it's only the second vehicle, right? And the first crew, Orion, as well. So there's a few things here and there that they're finding, but they are quickly resolving it within the timelines, within the schedules. And, let's see what happens on the wet dress rehearsal. One of the things that I will correct here, small thing, I believe it is actually no later what they said of no later than February 2nd, but as so earlier before this, like many hours ago today, we were sort of discussing this in the back channels. Philip Sloss was in that discussion, and very much we were wondering, like, what does no later than February 2nd mean? Does that mean that's when the countdown starts, or that's when the T0 is expected, right? Because the countdown for SLS is like 2 or 3 days long, so and also the wet dress, we'll talk about that. There's like multiple holds and everything planned as well for it, doing a bunch of testing. So I'm really wondering what it actually entails, that whole no later than February 2nd date. I really hope we get some kind of updates as we get to that date, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say there are certain things that NASA's been amazing communicating about with this mission. And there's a lot of things that they have been pretty mid at. I don't know what other term to use in terms of communicating. And that's one of them. Of course, they talk about the wet dress rehearsal, the importance of it, things like that. But in terms of when exactly, what that means for the countdown, when the countdown, other than it happens a couple days before, so when they're actually going to have to start the official countdown versus the wet dress count and all of that. I get they don't know the exact date because it's all going to depend on the results of the wet dress, but it's just, I don't know, it feels vague in that sense. EJ, ready?
Was that God? What was that noise?
That was the music from my my time lapse that I had. But anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently there's music on Sawyer's time lapse, and I didn't realize that, and I had it up. Sorry.
There is a version in there that it says no music, but yeah.
Kevin can't read. Love you, buddy. Anyway, anyway, the rollout, and then the wet dress, right? That's where we're at. Sorry, I had to.
Yes, that is where we're at.
Okay, cool. I think you know what, dudes? I think wet dress is gonna go just fine. I think they learned a ton from all the wet dress rehearsals / launch attempts from Artemis 1. I think it's going to be fine. I really don't think they're going to run into any. It's not like the vehicle's different. What's the difference? What's the difference between this? It's got some strakes on the forward SRB attachment points, right? And it has a life support system aboard Orion, which should not affect fueling. That shouldn't affect the fueling for the vehicle. I think it's going to go fine. Alex, do you think it's going to go fine? I think it'll be fine. I don't think anything's going to go wrong with this thing. I think they're going to wet dress it, and we're going to see early February launch. Maybe not the 6th, but
I mean, there's a good chance that with all of the different tanking tests and the different countdowns that they did with Artemis 1, that they have a good chance of having a clear wet dress, or at least, as I mentioned, that if they encounter some issues, they can resolve them sort of in the fly, right? And be able to go through all of those things and be able to still stick with an early February launch opportunity, as we've mentioned multiple times, and as Sawyer was saying, February 6th is just the earliest launch date, but they have the 7th, the 8th, I think the 9th is not one of the dates. They sort of jump to the 10th and then the 11th. So they have 5 different days that they could target. After the 11th, we have to go all the way to March to be able to have another opportunity. So hopefully they get that wet dress rehearsal done essentially in the first few days of February. But I think, there's a good chance that it just still gets completed, basically, which for Artemis 1, I don't think they ever got all the way down through the complete thing, and I feel like they have a bunch of things in this wet dress rehearsal where they're going to be holding and then recycling back to before the terminal count, and then going down the countdown again, terminal count, and then holding again and running back the clock like a few times. I don't exactly remember off the top of my head the exact times and whatnot, but it's a different times in the terminal count that they want to hold and roll back the recycle and things like that. So that sort of thing, for example, they had planned that already for Artemis 1, but they were never able to do that. So I feel like they're doing it now because they probably feel better now and more confident with this build and with all of the knowledge that they have already from Artemis 1.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, wait, did we agree on something, Alex? Did that just happen?
Hey, we agree a lot more often than not. Remember the quiz?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That, you know what? That's a good point. Just
Say
Yeah, but is it worth noting again the fact that they didn't do a green run? So this is kind of the first time that we're actually seeing it fired up and, well, not fired up so to speak, but to get to that point and fuel it and check everything like that. Is that a concern though?
So if it was up to me, Alex, real quick, if it was up to me, I'd green run every core stage. We only spent like $1 billion retooling the B2 test stand for that. It'd be nice to use it more than once for that.
It's not like there's going to be so many of them that it's implausible to do it.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I think that would just be prudent. That's what the B2 test stand was made for testing big, gigantic, super heavy launch vehicle stages. It would be nice, but I do believe they're retooling B2 for the EUS now, so they can use it once and then never use it. I mean, they're retooling it for the EUS now. Lovely. But yeah, Alex. Anyway, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but I wish they would green run every stage.
I feel like if anything, Artemis 1 shows that even with the green run, they still had issues. Like, for example, the interface with the core stage at the bottom, which they had a lot of issues with on the pad with Artemis 1, with the leaks and everything, the leak rates, with the tail service mast, if I'm not mistaken, is the
TSMU.
Exactly, the tail service mast umbilicals. So they had issues with the hydrogen one, right? And they had to go, like, they even went to the pad, remember, so that they could still fix it on the pad without rolling back. I remember that was between the first, so there were 2 launch attempts. There was a big gap. They did a tanking test. Before that tanking test, that's when they did the sort of thing, repairs and whatnot on the umbilical. And all of that happened on the pad. It never happened on the green run. It never happened at Stennis. It was clean. It was smooth. And then when they came to the pad, it happened. And it's like, well, maybe it's not a guarantee that just because you go through a green run, everything is going to be good on the pad, right? Because it's different hardware at the end of the day. So I don't know. Like, we'll see.
By the way, before we move on, I do need to take one super chat. I normally do them later, but someone saying if there's any hydrogen leaks, don't blame me. It's my cousin's fault, and that was from ground umbilical carrier plate.
Yeah,
I just had to bring that up.
Yeah. This to be fair, this does have a gup on it. It does have it. It's very similar to the one from the shuttle, but it's just on the launch umbilical tower. It definitely has one. I'm just saying.
Shuttle-derived problem?
Shuttle-derived Wait, no, the shuttle was awesome. No, it's not a shuttle-derived problem. Wait a minute.
But the GUC-P was a problem for shuttle, so it is a shuttle-derived problem.
Well, make a better one then. That's not that. The shuttle has nothing to do with that.
That's kind of what they tried to do anyway, right? With this, is make a better one. But hey, let's make things better by taking shuttle hardware and throwing it in the water.
Don't do that. Don't.
Too late. About those RS-25s, about the 5-segment SRBs. Because I saw someone asking, I think, when we were doing the launch broadcast of, are those shuttle SRBs, are they similar to the shuttle SRBs? Are they different? No, they're actual shuttle SRB segments. It's not like, oh, they're kind of like shuttle or they're derived from shuttle. No, they're just the shuttle ones, except there's 5 of them stacked together instead of 4. And they don't have any of the recovery hardware installed in it because of the whole lack of recovery.
Yeah. There's also the matter that the engines, like, There's this thing about the SRBs, right? That they go in the Atlantic. A lot of people think about the core stage as going also in the Atlantic, but it actually goes all the way out to space and then re-enters over the Pacific. And those engines, the RS-25s, actually get a Viking funeral, I guess, of going through re-entry at orbital speeds. So they don't even get wet. Maybe some components after going through a fire re-entry they may survive, but they fall in the ocean pretty much in pieces. It just falls
not
apart.
right.
So
Should put lofted on the MPS. get those motors back. There, I said it.
that's a smart idea.
Yeah. What do we not have space down there? Just put it on the bottom in the center. Just lofted is an inflatable heat shield that ULA tested on the JPSS mission with an Atlas V and a Centaur. It is an inflatable heat shield, right? So you open it up and it inflates and it worked just fine. Can we put one of those on the back of the core stage or something? I don't know. There's plenty of armchair engineers out there going, they would never do that. They're never going to do that. The technical, hey, how about we just put a heat shield on the bottom, right? I'm sorry, I don't want to see shuttle engines get a Viking funeral. Do you? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Now what? Boom. Heat shield on the bottom. Let's go. SLS smart reuse. Let's do it.
I was going to say, smart reuse is a thing that Tori totally left him set up for when he left, as he pointed out. It's in their court, right?
Yeah, it's up to them.
By the way, Alex Mighty Unlikely is asking, will you cut your hair if the Artemis 2 launch happens on the first try?
No, why would I do that? I've not made such a thing. Don't make me go into any sort of things that I've never gone into. Because I remember that I did say at one point, and there's even in our folders and everything, I still find it every now and then, there's a clip of me saying that if Starship Flight 2 happens before the end of the summer, I'll shave my head and everything. And it never happened. It actually launched in November. So I was right? And here you go.
So you don't want to take up that offer then?
No, I'm not taking any offers.
Why not?
That,
also,
why would
they
I?
never said how long. It's not shaving your head. You could cut your hair half an inch.
just a little bit. I mean, sure, whatever.
By the way, I have some video of Alex when it came time for the haircut.
What?
Whee! Trying to get out of town. Getting out of Dodge.
Oh, dude. Is that some slide wire basket action we got?
It exactly is. Just yesterday, we saw them testing out the slide wire baskets, the emergency egress system. Because keep in mind, when they roll out the mobile launch platform, it's mobile. It's not like there's a fixed service structure at the pad where they can just keep them attached to. They actually have to reattach the slide wire guidelines to the mobile launch platform. And once they do that, of course, they need to retest them and make sure that they still work. That will be able to get the astronauts away from the rocket in the event that something goes wrong on the pad. So again, this is during fueling, if something happens at that point, and prior to the arming of the launch abort system, that's their way out of Dodge. Out of Dodge as in a little bit away from the pad to some waiting armored vehicles that will then drive them away.
There's some MRAPs down there for the armor nerds, where those slide wire baskets terminate. They terminate inside of the blast detonation area, which is the pad perimeter. And there's 2 MRAPs down there waiting. They run right into those. Those will keep you safe. Those will be fine.
Yeah,
big Oshkosh trucks. They'll be all right.
But yeah. So they did that test, again, one step closer to the launch itself. So that's nice.
Yep.
Yvonne Mush, by the way, asking, will SLS get super frosty during wet dress? Yes and no. Good old Sophie helping out, right, AJ?
Yep. Actually, here, hold up.
I'm holding. Can't hold much longer.
All right,
No, let's not hold,
you can let go.
Please.
Yes.
Wait, what? Do you just have Sophie?
Yes, I do.
By the way, when we say that, that's spray-on foam insulation. He's not cheating, Brimo.
Right, it's chroming out because it's orange, and I don't know why that's doing that. But yes, this stuff. So this right here is foam insulation that they spray on the SLS core stage in the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. This is an insulative material to keep the propellants cold. Now, it really helps when you do that when you're using liquid hydrogen, which really doesn't like to have much temperature delta, higher temperature. Yeah.
Wait,
It was
EJ,
being
you weren't
green
in front of
screened.
SLS this whole time?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, of course I was. How did I get the foam?
I'm shooketh, I tell you. Anyway,
It's
continue.
yellow. Why was being? Oh my god, that green screen.
So this is sprayed on, and it's sprayed on in layers, right? You could see where they sprayed more and they sprayed more and they sprayed more. What this does is keep the propellants cold, right? But it also prevents frost from accumulating on the outside of the vehicle. This is something that harkens back to the space shuttle program. They put this on the external tank because they didn't want ice coming off the tank and hitting the thermal protection system on the shuttle on the way up. That's probably a good idea. So this carried over onto SLS, and now it does fall off. It falls off, believe me, but not nearly as much. And you don't have to worry about it hitting the thing with people in it. But yeah, this is the spray-on foam insulation. It's pretty dang thick. This actually is where. You don't know how I got this. Yeah, this was from the inner tank because it has a hex bolt indent on it. So this is from the hydrogen to inner tank selfie structure where they reapplied selfie during the Artemis 1 mission. Yeah, cool spaceflight paraphernalia. But yeah, this stuff's got the consistency of about styrofoam. Yeah.
So that's actual Artemis, Sophie, not shuttle.
No, this is from Artemis 1. Yeah, this is from an SLS. It's not from the shuttle.
Okay, I thought I had a good Sawyer flex. That is a massive EJ flex.
Hey.
Holy smokes.
I know people. Hey, I got it for educational purposes like this. Okay? Now is the time. All right?
True.
Now is the time for that. That's why I have that. I got it for educational purposes. I also have these for educational purposes too. Here, hold up.
Scared.
No, don't be.
Is that Alabama River Rock?
It's Tennessee River Rock, Sawyer.
Okay.
Okay. Got more Tennessee River Rock. See, this one is flat on the top where it was crushed by a gigantic crawler transporter. That's why I have these, because they were already crushed. There's already crushed rock. But these are for educational purposes too. This is what the crawlerway is made out of. There's an Alabama River Rock. See, I got both.
I was gonna say the one I have is Alabama. It was crushed. Mine was crushed during 135. So
this was from Artemis 1 as well.
Nice.
We have both kinds of rocks. We have Tennessee and Alabama.
It's got a smiley face. How do you say that?
Yeah.
I could.
Oh yeah.
I could make a joke, but I'm not going to. Oh, it does have a smiley face.
Those marks aren't where, like a 2 million pound crawler transporter flattened it. No. It's a smiley face.
Yeah.
You're just happy by being flattened by a rocket.
Just.
It's one of my favorite things to show people. It's like, oh, look at this rock. And then you flip it over and it's like, see how it's perfectly flat? It's like, yeah, got crushed.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the spray on foam insulation is there, so you're not going to see much ice on the vehicle. The Sophie does really just kind of mitigate a bunch of it. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't see frost in certain places, guys. You'll probably see frost on around the inner tank. That does happen. That's why I have that spray on foam insulation. There are points, so like at the top of the hydrogen tank where the inner tank connects in, so this is up at the top of the SRBs, like there's an intertank structure between your liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks. The intertank structure kind of ties the whole vehicle together. It holds the SRBs together. It holds the two tanks together. Because there's a huge temperature differential between the inner tank, which is purged with gaseous nitrogen, and the liquid hydrogen that's on the top of the hydrogen dome, or that's not on the top of the hydrogen dome, but inside of the hydrogen tank, the spray on foam insulation does crack there a little bit. So it had to be reapplied after wet dress rehearsals for Artemis 1. So there is ice that does accumulate there, but yeah, you won't see much ice on this thing. You'll see ice on the umbilicals and stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Thank you for giving me that
it's-
in.
By the way, I also saw someone saying I thought it was Tennessee. Sawyer said Alabama. I've seen both, right? I've seen both Tennessee and Alabama river rock used.
They source it from wherever they can get it from, guys. Like, it's the truth. But they have to reapply it after every once in a while, because if they crush too much of these rocks, so like, okay, a little bit. Why do they have to replace the rocks, and why do I have these? All right, so the rocks on the crawlerway need to be replaced because the crawler transporter is so dang heavy. All right, there's really no other good way to move something that big around in Florida. If you tried to pave a road, the thing would just fall through the road.
Am I the silly European that's thinking, aren't Tennessee and Alabama like next to them? Maybe it's the same river.
Yeah, it's probably the same river.
Yeah, it
It just goes through two states.
That's just what part of the river they grabbed it from. But anyway.
So when the rocks actually get crushed, it actually absorbs some of the energy that the crawler transporter is exerting down onto the ground. The rocks have to be replaced after a certain amount of rolls. You'll crush too many of them. They have to dig them. They have to dig out the crushed rock, throw it somewhere, and replace them. So, yeah, that's what I mean about when Sawyer says, like, it's Alabama river rock, and Alex and I say Tennessee river rock. It's probably one time they probably got it from Alabama, right? Probably because it was cheaper, and it's the same thing. But that's the idea. Yeah.
Unless they switch to Tennessee, because again, mine is from shuttle era. So
now when I go there and sort of like do the Simpsons thing of like Alabama, Tennessee, Alabama. Whatever.
Nice.
In the river and picking the rocks. Anyways.
Psycho in chat says Wyoming is closer. Oh, there's definitely, they got a coastline. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Let me thank some people here really quick. Jim Yoder saying Jack would have supported EJ. EJ did well anyways.
No, he wouldn't. He would abandon us.
Exactly. Space Pope saying, bless this trench, keep warm. Thank you for the, again, still blows my mind, usual $50 super chat. I still feels weird to say that. Bideford also coming in with the $50 super chat saying, evening EJ!
Hey!
Sawyer, Alex, KMR, and Jake. Be careful, all those near the storms. Wait, how come EJ gets all the extra letters? Jimmy Yoder also pointing out, 1 foot of snow tomorrow, flame trench keeps me warm. I'm glad. Space Pope with the $20 super chat also saying, Alex growing a sexy Jesus beard, let's go.
No, I'm just lazy. That's all.
Yeah. By the way, he's taken. Sorry.
That's also another thing, so I'm sorry.
Harry coming in, getting something from the shop saying, WG Mojo, I guess from chat, this will go nicely on my living room wall. Very nice. I'm trying to see if it shows what it was. I don't know. And Hangtime Central saying, not to play devil's advocate, but technically SpaceX Viking funerals their boosters whenever a recovered first stage is used for an expendable launch.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I'm just saying. I don't like that either.
I hear you on that. Another question that I saw here was, has NASA given explicit guidance about Artemis temperature range? Winter moments exist even in Florida. And yes, they have. I took the courtesy of looking it up, and per the official Artemis 2 press kit, it is, for basic launch criteria at the pad, do not launch if the temperature at 132.5 and 257.5 foot levels exceed 94.5 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 consecutive minutes, or drop below a defined temperature constraint for 30 minutes, which ranges from 38 degrees Fahrenheit to 49 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on wind and relative humidity. Higher wind and relative humidity result in a colder temperature constraint, and in terms of actually initiating fueling, they can't do it if the temperature 24-hour average temperature at those two heights is less than 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, there's all kinds of weird temperature constraints. Like there's that. The other constraint that they talked about in one of the briefings, so that's a whole nother story we'll get into, is the fact that they basically only have those tight launch windows, and most of them are at night, and the multiple days that they have, because there are restrictions that they can't have the vehicle and the thermal protection system on it and the outside exposed to direct sunlight in orbit for more than 90 minutes at a time. So that's why, or exposed to cold temperatures, excuse me, not in sunlight for 90 minutes at a time was what they said. Which I get is kind of weird, but it's something to do with the heat shield and all the issues that have been going on with it as a kind of protection, which I don't know if you saw, EJ, but CNN put out an article today with quotes from one of our good astronaut buddies, or shall we say an astronaut who's been very vocal throughout the entirety of this launch campaign, Charlie Kamara, talking about concerns with Orion's heat shield.
Charlie Kamara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it feels like it's kind of weird bringing it up this late, but is Orion's heat shield safe? Is it okay? For those who don't know, what's been the issue with the heat shield this whole time? I know we've talked about it on Flame Trench before.
Okay, the gist of it is that the heat shield comes apart. It comes apart during reentry. It comes apart in a way you don't want it to come apart. In technical terms, it's called charring and spalling. Okay, so when the Artemis 1 mission went, they sent it and it came back and there was a hole in the heat shield when Orion landed. Now, if people were on it, it would have been fine. People would have been fine. But holes in the heat shield, generally bad. Don't want that. So what they're doing for Artemis 2, the first flight with people on board, is they're adjusting the flight profile to prevent less charring and spalling. The thing you got to understand about reentry is that if you're hitting it coming back from the moon, all right, you're always there's a total amount of energy that you're going to absorb. There's a total impulse of energy during reentry if you're coming back from on a trans-Earth injection from the moon. Okay. Do you want all of it at once, or do you want to flash fry, or do you want to slow cook it? So basically, with the Artemis 1 reentry profile, they opted for the slow cooker route by kind of skipping off the atmosphere. What that ended up doing is, well, during reentry heating and plasma got in between the cracks on the heat shield and made the seams on the heat shield and cracked it and made it worse. Now, that happens. That does happen with heat shields. You're going to get some cracking. But because the Orion during Artemis 1 skipped off the atmosphere, it went up back into space and then came down again. When it went back up into space, the heat shield started coming apart, and then it did the reentry with holes in the heat shield, and it still made it through. Still made it through just fine. So what they're opting to do, basically, they think about it like a barbecue slow cook. That's how they, the period of heating was a lot longer to keep peak heating down, right? For the Artemis 2 reentry, they're using the same exact heat shield design that came apart during Artemis 1, but they are basically flash frying the thing. The reentry corridor, I do believe, per the press conference, Sawyer, that you were at, is 1,775 nautical miles, as opposed to Artemis 1, which is 4,000. It's less than half. So basically, they're going to encounter higher heating during Artemis 2, but the period of heating is going to be shorter with this type of reentry profile. For Charlie, that's not good enough. Now, like I said, dude, Sawyer, I mean, you're product of the shuttle era, so am I. I don't like bad juju for these missions. I don't like that. I don't like it. It's not, you don't want to concern troll this, you don't want bad vibes. This is a really high profile mission, right? And I'm not saying that Charlie shouldn't say what he should say. Dissenting opinion should always be welcomed, right? But like, I have my personal doubts about it, to be 100% honest with you, but I don't believe in bad vibes this close to a mission. So I think if we put our trust in NASA, and I think if Jared Isaacman says it's okay, I mean, he's been far into space. He knows how big of a deal that heat shield is to not, you can't have it come apart, right? But if he says it's cool, I believe him. I believe him, and I want to believe NASA. But I'll be 100% honest with you. If it was me, and what is my engineering expertise? I play Kerbal. I play a lot of KSP. All right, that's what I do. Like, I get it. I'm an armchair rocket scientist. I understand. If it was up to me, I would want to test with that heat shield where it comes back without having holes in it. But I think NASA has an issue here where they're not running a hardware-rich space program. It's not like SpaceX where you just get another stage. Just get another stage, put another stage out there, or just get another Super Heavy. It's fine, or get another second stage, or get another Dragon, or whatever. There was only three ICPSs made for SLS, and the next mission the Artemis 3 mission needs the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. It needs it for the mission. So you only have 2 more of these things left. You had 3. There was one for Artemis 1, 2, and 3 for the Block 1 version of SLS, right? And you only have 2 more. You have to put people on this thing, and then you have to do the landing. So unless you want your landing mission to be the first one with people on board, NASA would opt for a different flight profile. They opted for this 1775 nautical mile flight profile. The thing is, actually, Kevin, can you pop that picture of the Artemis 1 heat shield back up? The more you look at that picture, the worse it gets. Yeah. The heat shield, and sorry, I know you didn't want this much of a background. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
The heat shield is made out of blocked Avcoat. Now, Avcoat is the type of ablative material that the Apollo heat shield used, but they're making it in bricks. If you look at that heat shield over there, it looks like a bunch of bricks kind of fit together. The problem is that the plasma gets in between the blocks. And NASA has redesigned the heat shield for NASA and Lockheed have redesigned the heat shield for Artemis 3, I would add. It was enough to warrant a redesign, but they think this different flight profile is going to make it okay. Kevin, if we could, and once again, I don't mean to backseat produce. I'm sorry. If you zoom in basically just to the right of dead center on that heat shield, if we could get a picture of that.
I think it's a link to the Eric Berger article about his meeting. That 4-hour meeting. Yeah, because this was one of the responses from the NASA spokesperson. Yeah, there it is.
Dudes, like I said, with systems engineering, you want to make sure your analysis, your flight data corroborates your analysis. So basically, you do a lot of math. The gist of it is you do a lot of math, figure out, you get a good idea what it's going to do, and then you launch it. You get flight data, and the flight data isn't there to learn anything new with this type of engineering, with the type of engineering that NASA does with spacecraft. You don't want to learn anything new during a test flight. You use the test flight as an analog to make sure that the math you did was right. There is a gigantic hole in that damn heat shield. Okay, there's a gigantic hole just to the right of dead center. There's a huge hole in it, and if you look at the left sides, it's pretty bad too. But like the more you look at this, the worse it gets. There are parts where the heat shield's worn down to the aluminum backing plate that's behind it, which is supposed to be a heat sink. But once again, if NASA, I'll be honest with you. I trust Rook's judgment, dude. I don't think Jared Isaacman would okay this mission if he wasn't sure. I mean, he knows that's somebody that we've talked to. Jack has interviewed him on here before. We know that he knows what he's talking about. You know that he knows this stuff. So I have to give them the benefit of the doubt because I'm once again, I'm a KSP player. So what the hell do I know, right? But dude, those cracks don't look great. But I have to believe NASA that their analysis is good. I would want a good test of this heat shield, but we don't. NASA doesn't have the hardware up.
It's also worth mentioning that there are 2 problems with the heat shield, right? That they think might go away. One of them might go away with the modified Artemis 2 profile, and then the second sort of will not appear with that modified. The whole thing is that, as you mentioned, EJ, there's this ablation, right? These chunks of the heat shield, but these not come off just because, right? There's these, as you said, slow cooking of the interior that releases gases, and the gases are not able to be released because of the material being, sort of the mix of the material being a bit different than they expected. Essentially, it doesn't let those gases out, right? As it comes out of the atmosphere, it's this skip re-entry, as you were mentioning, and it sort of comes out. And so what happened is that when it re-entered back, those pieces started to come off because now the gas was again heating up and then being expelled, and that sort of pushed out the material that was above, like as the as the temperature sort of seeped into the material, you had the bottom layers outgassing, right? But the layers above were not letting that out. And so it was essentially, I don't know, like when you have a volcano, for example, you have all of that gas trapped there, and then it sort of explodes and escapes and everything. That's essentially what happened in that material. The thing that they're doing with Artemis 2 is, okay, we're still fine with that sort of unknown permeability material, right? Where it's like we're not fully sure if that permeability is the good one for those gases to be out. But instead of doing the slow cooking, what we're gonna do is we're gonna re-enter a little bit faster with that shorter re-entry range, right? And not doing the skip re-entry as sort of as they did it on Artemis 1. It's going to be a little bit less pronounced, essentially. And that way, they are not doing that slow cooking. It's a little bit further. And by the time the temperature goes down to the lower layers that are outgassing, the capsule will already be passed through the plasma phase. It's going to go already under the chutes and things like that. Like that's sort of the idea here that they're having. The problem and sort of the concerns that I've read from people at the time, that some of them have been apparently cleared during this 4-hour meeting, was like, have you actually made sure that if this happens again, like what else can happen that nothing works in that heat shield? Can Orion still take it? And the people in that meeting said, yes, we actually did that work, and it so happens that it can take that even if a chunk actually came off entirely. There's a heat sink that you were mentioning that can take it. It is not the best ideal position. It is not really irrational to fly, right? But the primary one of changing the reentry is, and that's what they were explaining. And of course, there can still be people that are not sort of satisfied, if you will, right? And there's Charlie as well out there dissenting on that opinion from NASA. I'm not an expert, of course, so I cannot really say much, but I respect his opinion and whatnot, but I do think that it's, as you said, bad juju to be talking again about this,
right?
And having all
I'm
of this whole thing.
I don't want to put those bad vibes out there, dude, with this high profile of a mission,
I think they did their homework. Whether it's enough or not, I do agree with you that they really had, we wouldn't be having this conversation if they had hardware to expand, right? To fly and go out and do multiple re-entries, do the Starship style of like, let's remove a bunch of tiles, right? Like Orion also had non-ablative material on the backside, for example. Maybe they can save some few pounds by removing some of those tiles. Who knows? Like that's the sort of thing that when you have a hardware-rich program, you can test out and you can sort of look at and be able to just stop it, go away. And on crewed missions, all the way, boom, 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 and just, yeah.
Dude, I just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as you pointed out, though, of course, there's concern for Artemis 2, but then you also have to think, okay, they're completely redesigning the heat shield for Artemis 3. So, untested. We're going to send people out to land on the moon and come back and then return on an untested version of the heat shield, too. So it's like catch-22 of, well, yeah, we're technically bringing them back on a tested heat shield, but on an untested trajectory. And so the next time we'll go back to the old trajectory, but now on an untested heat shield. So it's kind of, in my head, it's just that whole make up your mind kind of deal. Pick one, and I know there's risks with it, but, are the risks worth it at that point?
Dude, man, I want to have a good discussion about this, but I'm just worried. But like, once again, there's that whole bad vibe thing. So let me put it this way. Like, I do not like putting people, or if I was running NASA, I would not like putting people on untested stuff. Now, one could make the argument that the heat shield is tested. We have some flight data behind it, so we know what is and isn't going to make it work and not work. But without getting that heat shield back, So like, okay, you have the idea. I'm trying to explain this in layman's terms. It's basically about denoting flight rationale from your analysis and your previous flight data. Okay, so how this would work in an ideal world is, like I said, you do the math out, right? You do the math out. You do what's called analysis, right? And then you do the mission, and you'd make sure that did it do what you wanted it to do? Did it do exactly what you wanted to do? No deviations, right? Nothing. If it did, then your analysis was good. Your math was great. You did it just fine. Everything is working. That's the ideal thing. That's the ideal case. That didn't happen here, right? So I can't help but think in the back of my mind, right? If your analysis was wrong on the heat shield and you had that much deviant behavior from the heat shield, is the flight profile going to change that too much? I mean, there's the skip, like what you were talking about, Alex, versus the not skip because of the trapped gases, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you know that that's going to happen? How do you know? You can't get, what are you going to use? The analysis? Is that the same analysis that said the Artemis 1 heat shield would be fine?
I think in part what they did was that they also did materials testing. Like, it was not just modeling and putting numbers on a computer and things like that. Like, they actually went to the labs and tested the materials. Like, I feel it's obviously not the same environment, right? Not even close. But at least they actually put something on a similar condition, right? Like, it's better than nothing. How about that? It's better than just crunching numbers. You actually put some hardware, some of the material out there through similar conditions, and you actually verified that your theory went, as you were expecting, right? Because after you go through all the models and everything, you go and it's like, oh yeah, it was this, right? And like, it seems like that's what they did. And EJ, the same thing can be said, for example, for Artemis 3, right? Like, they've been talking about a different mix for the AV code and things like that should be more permeable and therefore let those gases escape and things like that. But if what you say is true, then how do you know that's all right? Well, because they're doing actual lab testing. They're actually going through and simulating those conditions. I feel like the problem that they had before is that they did not see that because they didn't test it probably with the same material conditions, right? Like, when they tested it probably beforehand with an actual lab and the material, they probably tested with a material that was permeable, that let the gases escape. But when they actually did it with one that didn't, and then they compared, they were like, oops, right? Like, it feels to me that that's what happened, that the reason why before they did not expect this is because they had good material, so to speak, right? Like a material that was sort of close to perfect. But there might have been imperfections or something like that on the Artemis 1 and Artemis 2 vehicles, and now they're trying to modify that for Artemis 2. I'm not too aware of the exact conditions and everything like that, but it feels to me that that's what happened initially, and that's why the difference is when they actually went fly and they saw that sort of. But you can see in some of these, I believe we were seeing pictures before of the Artemis 1 heat shield. There's also from what's it called? The Inspector General. There's like pictures of them comparing the non-permeable AV code with permeable AV code being tested on the lab, and the spalling seen on the non-permeable one and not seen on the other one. Like, they actually did an A/B testing with two different permeabilities of the material to show that it was indeed related to that. Like, they just didn't say, oh, it's the permeability, right? Like, they actually went to the lab, tested under similar conditions, and then they saw that. So that's my take, that they probably did not see it beforehand because they were probably working on ideal materials, so to speak.
Yeah, but Alex, material permeability doesn't solve the blocked AV code problem. Remember what I said, guys. These heat shields are made they're made in small sections and they're kind of fitted together like bricks.
But it's still blocked on Artemis 3. The problem with the so the reason why they moved from, because EFT1, Exploration Flight Test 1 with Delta IV Heavy, it carried the one sort of closer to Apollo. On Apollo, for people that may not know, they had the honeycomb structure, and then they had to fill that with the AV code. They tried that for EFT1, and what they found out is that, first of all, the manufacturing techniques and the manufacturing knowledge in America has changed a lot since the 60s, and it's a lot more complicated now, ironically, because of that. It's also more expensive, so if you add that to the whole thing, it becomes a lot more complicated. It is more expensive. So what they did was essentially move to AVCode blocks. That was essentially the reasoning why between EFT1 and Artemis 1 they changed the heat shield design. I would argue that they should have chosen Pika. That's just my take, because it works well with Dragon, and it worked well with a bunch of other spacecraft as well that landed on other planets and even back on Earth as well. So I think, and from really hot missions and hot reentries. So I think that could have been probably a way to have solved that many years ago, but I digress. I've been digressing for a long time, to be fair.
I disagree. I think that's really easy to say that they could have gone with pica. If pica's phenolic impregnated carbon ablator, guys, it's this type of heat shield, the type of heat shield that Dragon uses, it's the type of ablator that Dragon uses, and they do use blocked pica on Dragon. The Dragon is fit together like that too. Alex, I never understood the whole rationale there for switching to a blocked AVCode ablator after EFT1. You made a heat shield that was essentially a copy of Apollo's heat shield with a slightly different backing plate because it's Orion, right? And then it worked great, and then somebody wrote that off because it was too expensive.
Yeah, this was explained by Mitch Shatria, I think, literally on the same conference where he was asked like
he said there
why
was no supply. There's no demand for a heat shield like that. There's no supply for a heat shield like that. What do you mean there's no supply? What? Because we've been going to the moon for the past 50 years? Yeah. Oh, how about you're NASA? How about you make the supply chain for it? Huh? I don't know.
That's the thing. In the 60s, that was sort of the incentive, right? To create that sort of supply chain and whatnot. Things have changed in more than 50 years, for better or worse. But
what do you mean things have changed? The way they manufactured it was a bunch of guys with a caulking gun hanging from a rope, injecting AVCode into the honeycomb lattice. What do you mean in manufacturing? What we can't get a guy with a caulking gun hanging from a rope making a heat shield? We couldn't use a robotic arm to do that? What are we talking about here? I'm not buying it, dude. How are you gonna get a heat shield that comes back perfectly and be like, nah, this is bad.
This
Let's
is
not
from
do this. This thing literally sucks.
Curiosity. Yeah, Mars Science Laboratory 4.5 Pika heat shield. Yeah, we've landed things on other planets with this material, and it works. And Dragon uses it on every single mission. Of course, its thickness and everything.
Bro, wait a minute.
It's used for LEO, but there's also uses of. What?
Mars entry, descent, and landing is nothing like a lunar reentry, Earth reentry from lunar or from.
And Pika has also been used in a reentry to Earth at much greater speeds than from the moon. That's what I'm pointing out. Like, this was just one of the applications. If you remember, we're pointing. Hang on, I'm waiting for Kevin. There we go. This thing came from deep space. It uses Pika, and it was even faster re-entry than lunar speeds. Even faster than even if you came from Mars. I think it was like 15 kilometers per second of re-entry speed. But yeah.
Brother, that capsule is the size of an engine block. The Orion's the size of a semi-truck.
And the other for the one that we were seeing before for Curiosity was 4.5 meters in diameter. That's pretty much Orion. A little bit smaller than Orion.
I don't understand.
Just adjust the thickness, pretty much. At the end of the day. Hang on. I think there was also like Circa as well being pointed out in this, because I'm looking at the preview that Kevin is scrolling through. So I also saw the Circa. The Circa is also a material that is used on Dragon and even on Starship as well. It's an ablative material. I think it's this one, right? The white one. But yeah. There are many different ablative materials that they could have used, and they still went with Avcode just because it was used in Apollo.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
because the Apollo worked. Apollo, we still have Apollo astronauts around because they all came back, and the heat shield didn't come apart during re-entry. I'm just putting it out there.
What am I gonna say? It's
I don't know. You tell me.
At this point, Pika has been used more times than Apollo, than the Avcode from Apollo, to bring people back home.
I don't know. Dude, like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if a phenolic impregnated carbon ablator is going to work on a trans-Earth injection coming back from the moon.
If it works for deep space.
Dude, just because it worked for that tiny little capsule doesn't mean it's going to work for an Orion. It's a completely different reentry profile. Like, those are two way different things. Like, you know, Alex, I guess what I'm trying to get at, dude, is that, you know, maybe we should have more capsules where we should, test this instead of that, you know, that boilerplate that launched on EFT-1 with a heat shield, and then Artemis 1 with nothing, with nobody on it. And then maybe not put people on the first flight. Maybe if we had more Orions, and maybe if we had more SLSs, or even an Ares 1, I don't know. We could have maybe tested a phenolic impregnated carbon ablator.
I'm completely
maybe we could have done
with that. I'm completely
maybe we should have done that. I don't know.
Not only because of what you say, but because we can see even more launches of SLS. Ah, there we go.
Back from 2015, by the way, this.
Yeah.
And the Orion capsule comes from 2006.
Because that's July 2nd, 2015. If you remember, 3 days before that, there was an in-flight breakup of the Falcon 9. There was CR7.
CR7?
Yeah, this is 3 days after 3 days
man,
now.
I'm just going to go there and say, it's not like Pica is not it's not like Pica hasn't had charring and spalling problems either. They had charring and spalling on DM2. No joke. Go look it up. It happens. Pica isn't your end-all be-all solution here.
In that case, it was on the connections to the trunk because they were not properly sealed, and also because they were not. They essentially misjudged the amount of ablating that will occur on those. And guess what other capsule went through that with a completely different material that was half code on Orion. Orion's connections to the service module, it also has 4 of them. 2 of them, I think, were completely charred as well. So.
Sorry, I'm just having some popcorn. I'm enjoying the show.
That's awesome, dude. Give me some.
I guess we can just move on. I guess because we already had our fight. We were talking about agreeing and everything, and now we had our fight.
Yeah. There, see, there we go.
There you go. Ding ding.
Look. At the end of the day, dude, I think what we're getting back to, I think the brass tacks here is that there needs to be more of this. We should have launched this more. We should have launched SLS. We should have gotten more data on this heat shield. You don't redesign after a flight test, right? Like, and if you do redesign after a flight test, good. Requalify after a flight test. Relying on the analysis and then kind of getting a bad flight test and then connecting the dots to where you think you want to be, guys, and and then saying like, oh, it burned through the heat shield and then it burned a little bit of the backing plate, but we have a little bit of margin with the backing plate. The backing plate can burn a little bit. No. That's bad analysis. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's bad analysis. They, after Challenger, they were like, the flight rationale going up to STS-51L, right? And this is what I mean about bad vibes. I don't say it anyway, right? Going up to STS-51L, the flight rationale for flying that thing was that, the O-rings don't degrade fully. They only degrade a third of the way. So we have a 66% safety margin here. No. Your O-rings shouldn't be degrading at all because it's an O-ring, okay? It's an O-ring. If it's degrading at all, you got a problem, right? So flight rationale saying like, the backing plate, if the backing plate gets a little wrecked, it's not a big, no, that's dumb. That is dumb. That's, I kind of see where Charlie's coming from here. I'm serious. once again, you got to, if Jared Isaacman and everybody says it's okay, that's fine. But also, I can't think about it. I can't not say this. Like, I can't put it in, dude, that's not great analysis, man. Like, this is the same analysis that said the Artemis 1 heat shield would come back in one piece. Well, it didn't. And then say like, oh, well, the backing plate can get messed up. It's no big deal. We've tested it. Yeah, it's a backing plate. That's not the heat shield. That's not the ablative part of the heat shield. Just putting it out there. Because Alex, as you said with Dragon, even if you're using pica or Avcoat, right, the design really, really makes a difference. The reason why they had charring and spalling, Alex, you said it yourself, is because of the design of the capsule. So no matter what you're using, the design makes it's a big deal. We should probably figure that out before we put people on it. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Like,
in this case, it was the material itself, the permeability of the material.
Yeah, but wait, with Dragon or with Orion?
With Orion, I mean.
Yeah, but they also had permeation in the seams because they're using a blocked heat shield and not the fiberglass lattice like Apollo. That doesn't solve the permeability of the Avcoat doesn't solve all your problems. It doesn't. Like,
but they're still
it's going to get into cracks.
Okay, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that they're still using blocks for Artemis 3, 4, and beyond. Like, this is, beyond however many Orions they build and fly.
The next 100 years, bro.
Artemis 100. I still remember that.
Artemis
100. But, like, each and every one of those are still planned, like, the whole thing of carrying blocks, the Avcoat being in blocks, that's still within the different ones. Kevin, so you already have this already queued up, which is the picture that I was mentioning, where they have the permeable layer,
the A/B test, cool,
and then the A/B testing of both different permeabilities of the Avcoat, where they actually showed that it was like that. A test block of Avcoat undergoes heat pulse testing inside an ArcJet test chamber at NASA's Ames Research Center. Shout out to Ames. And so configure with both permeable and non-permeable Avcoat sections. For comparison, help to confirm understanding of the root cause of the loss of the char Avcoat material that engineers saw on the Orion spacecraft after the Artemis 1 test flight beyond the moon. So, like, this is from when they released the findings of the cause of that heat shield char. And there's like an extensive sort of explanation here of like the different things, explaining they did like 121 individual tests. Like, it doesn't seem to me that it is related to the blocks themselves, but rather that the material itself was not permeable enough, and that is what caused the gases to be trapped, and therefore causing the charring. Like, if the concern were the blocks, wouldn't that make sense to then change to whatever other way of making, of applying the Avcoat on Artemis 3 and beyond? Like, it seems to me that that's not a change that they're doing.
Kevin, can you bring up the Artemis 1 heat shield picture again? And then look at the left side, specifically like closer to the leeward side, left side of the picture.
Because there's this.
You gotta pull it up. Good backseat producing. He's working on it. I can see.
No, I know. I'm backseat producing. I know I suck. It's the picture that Alex just linked in the back channel.
Yeah.
Look at the left side. Just zoom in on the left side blocks. It doesn't matter where. Oh, what's that? Huh. That looks like rust. You remember what happened with Starship when, bare metal got ablated for reentry? Huh. That's weird. Why would the heat shield be rusty? That's weird. It's real strange. Dude, it's getting through the seams. Look at it. It's right there in front of you. It's getting through the seams. How are you going to fix that?
Well, would you look at that?
Oh, would you look at that? That's weird.
I am not finding anything on the blocks themselves being the problem. Like, I'm going through this, and I cannot see anything about that. Nor anything that says that going forward, they're moving to another application of the Avcoat material.
Here's the thing. There's we have all of our inputs in here, and we've said that. There's one group of people whose input we have not heard from,
Here it comes.
and that is the crew. They're the ones that matter, right? They're the ones who are risking their lives to sit on top of this thing and trust it for re-entry. Back in July, Max D and myself were at an event at the Kennedy Space Center in the little press building that they have, where we had a chance to talk with the crew. One of the questions that was asked was about this exact problem, the concerns with the heat shield in the report that had come out the year prior. This is all of their responses. It's a little bit long, but then again, this topic's been going on long anyway. So I just want you to hear it from their mouths of their thoughts on it, and then we'll continue.
The concern was in-plane cracking that was discovered due to permeability on the previous heat shield. It's very well documented online. I recommend everybody go read the report. It's really fascinating. There's some great pictures and a lot of great technical background in there. We had what was called the char loss team at NASA, and it was headed in the Orion program, and they did a tremendous amount of research, a lot of kind of groundbreaking research in some facilities that we had not used before, and they discovered the root cause, which was the key to this whole team, was let's figure out the root cause, and then let's see where do we need to go. Artemis 3 will fly a different architecture. Artemis 2, they pulled the data and they scrubbed and they did wind tunnel testing and laser testing and hypervelocity testing, and they determined that if we come in with this lofted profile with a 1775 horizontal target line downrange, that the heat shield will be safe for us to go fly. We're actually even looking now at pulling that back even a little bit more to give us some flexibility on landing days, so they think there's a little more capability in this heat shield than at first they realized. So I think all that points in a direction of goodness. And I think if you as a human being who was about to board this rocket had sat in the meetings that we sat in and listened to the experts and gone through the data with them, you would have the same company that we do.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, well said, and I want to readdress to you that. But you brought up, former astronauts and other space professionals, industry professionals who have had comments on this. A lot of those are outsiders that haven't been in these meetings from day one and met the team and looked them in the eye and shook their hands at the ends of these meetings. But the other thing is, I don't want to discount the things that they've said. Anytime you talk about fire, anytime you talk about entry and heat shields, you talk about parachutes, these are high-risk things that are sometimes they don't have fault tolerance built in. They have to work. And so I appreciate all of that nudging and poking and prodding that they've caused. They have made us sharpen our pencils and put more due diligence, more vigilance into that process. And so, but I think we've done that. And so I think the crew is comfortable because of that team, and we know how many people were looking at this, but at the end of the day, they were thinking about us and our families when they were doing their jobs.
I think they sort of...
And I would say that that appropriate skepticism led us to a culture, which is actually ultimately why we are comfortable. That culture is not about litigating a case of why we can fly. It's about doing the science to understand the systems and then making a decision based on that. That could be either rationale to fly or to not fly. And that's ultimately what got us to this point of being comfortable.
Yeah, I just want to put a little bit more emphasis on the fact that I think it's really important that this story gets told, and it's great that you're asking about it, because this should be characterized as a true American success story. I mean, this country now knows things about heat shield technology it didn't know. And that's the art. That's when you know you're pushing the boundaries, is when you figure something out you didn't know. And what they've done with all this learning is they put it in this category of us being able to understand the risk and make a risk trade. And now for us, when we look at the heat shield risk, there's always going to be a risk there, but it is in family with all the other risks we're going to take on a mission to leave Earth and fly around. Thanks, Joey. Thanks, everybody. One last thing that we wanted to hit on was this IRT, the independent review team. I think the reason it's important to stress not only the great work that they did, but just from the very beginning with Artemis 1, it did take a little bit for the pictures to come out in the press, and I think people felt like we were maybe just trying to bury this, but it has been the most open, the most forthcoming. Hey, come see our data. You're from the outside. Here's our data. Come look at this data. And we really actually honored those outside perspectives on those former astronauts. One of them was on the independent review team and had a big part, two of them actually, I guess Charlie and Ben had a big part in getting that thing going.
You could hear them also directly referencing Charlie's comments that he had been posting on social media for years now at this point, and continuing to bring it up. So I just thought it was very important that we hear their thought process on it. I don't know if either of you have any comments before we move on to the next topic.
This is what I mean about
I agree.
good vibes. Look, if the crew's going to accept the ship, you know.
I think EJ is muted 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm muted for you guys. Look, what I was saying is, I was just telling Chad, I didn't want you to hear it. No. Look, this is what I mean about good vibes. If the crew's going to accept the ship, I guess that's all right. I trust their judgment more than mine, but I don't know, man. I feel obligated to bring it up, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh no, this thing sucks. You know, like this is a mission to be excited about, right? It is. It absolutely is. But I think what Jeremy Hansen said at the end there is poignant. The heat shield's no more risky than the entire rest of this mission. This is a ballsy freaking mission.
A lot of things going on.
There's a lot of unknown unknowns here. There's a lot of unknown unknowns. Just because we went to the moon a half century ago doesn't mean we're going to be good at it this time around. There's a lot of unknown unknowns. Even though you're following in the footsteps of Jim Lovell, Frank Borman, and Bill Anders, right? You're following in their footsteps, but that doesn't mean you know the pathway. You know the path, right? What if the footsteps? What if there's no mark? What if there's no trail? You know what I mean? This mission does carry a lot of risk. But like I said, if the crew's willing to accept the ship, all right, let's roll. Let's do this. No bad vibes. Let's go.
So right before we go to back, there's of course because I pulled out from the depths of the multimedia, I guess, this press release from 2015 pretty much explaining that they're moving to blocks on Orion, and so it shows there Artemis 1. Back in the day, it was called Exploration Mission 1. The Artemis 1 heat shield there being applied in blocks. 2015, that was a long time ago. And then below that, the Exploration Flight Test 1 heat shield after the flight. If you zoom in, you will also see those brownish marks on the places where it's been ablated, by the way. I think that's more a feature rather than a bug. Just call me crazy. And this is honeycomb. Like, this is essentially Apollo on steroids. Essentially bigger version of Apollo.
Yeah. So right? There's no holes in it.
There's a few chunks there out though. Just saying. But one of the things that they say is things like, the process of building the heat shield was very labor intensive compared to just putting the blocks together and things like that. Also talking about later in the press release, they talk about, for example, the behavior of the material when it is in terms of just blocks versus when it is in honeycomb structure. I think they said 340,000 holes or something like that they had to fill. 320,000 tiny cells. There you go. For the honeycomb structure. Like, they give a rationale for going from the honeycomb to this. And for the people that keep saying, let's go to Apollo, again, the material is the same. They just changed the application to blocks. Like, the material is basically the same. And that's exactly what failed on Artemis 1. Or not failed, but like caused the charring. It was not the blocks, it was the permeability.
Anyway, we could talk about this for hours and hours. So
those are the same people that said the Artemis 1 heat shield was going to work. I'm pretty sure it is. They were so sure that this heat shield was going to work with blocks even back in 2015, and then it didn't. Just saying. Just putting it out there.
Well, they think Artemis 3 will work.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. They think a lot of things. Thinking doesn't mean nothing. You have to prove it with flight data. But Sawyer, let's go.
Yeah, you have to prove it. In other words, prove that we can move on to other topics at this point.
Prove we can stay on schedule. Yeah, man.
Someone said put bacon behind it, and when you go back to the ship, everyone can have bacon.
That's a great idea, dude. Actually, meat is actually a really good ablator. Joe Barnard taught us that. It's a very good ablator. True. He did. High stakes, baby. Shout out to BPS. It's a great video
if you haven't watched it.
Yep.
Anyway, let me thank some people. Jim Yoder, hot take, the improved BE4 is a better engine than the RS-25. Higher thrust-to-weight ratio, much higher thrust for only marginally smaller ISP. But it's also different propellant, hydrogen versus methane. So.
Keep dreaming.
Jim Yoder also coming in saying, I'd be worried if Orion's heat shield was on an aluminum skin like shuttles, but this is on a backing plate that adds a lot of margin.
Your backing plate, using the backing plate, citing that as your heat shield, like, oh, if it gets to the backing plate, it's not a big deal. That's like saying, oh, my plane has 2 wings, so if we lose a wing, we have another one. No.
No, that's I guess like saying if your 2 engines die, you can still glide a little bit. That's how I interpret that. But anyway, Shazbert saying things are getting spicy between EJ and Alex. That is true.
Nah, we're bros, dude. Alex, we're good, right? It's just good to have these conversations, right?
No, I hate you.
Yeah, I know. I deserve that.
Although I will say that Carolyn says, I hate to feed an ego, but EJ is correct. No good engineering process.
I don't have an ego. Do I have an ego? Oh, don't make me think. Now I'm self-conscious. Crap.
Oh, people tell EJ how much you love him. And if you don't like him, don't say anything. Rosebud, how can they send them up without a proven heat shield? That's been the whole debate. And again, you heard the crew's rationale on why they feel safe flying. And the crew did say, and one of the press conferences afterwards where I got to ask him a question too, they flat out said, look, we know the risks. We know there's a chance we won't come back. The human on board of the 3 Americans and a human, as Tim Dodd accidentally put it, Jeremy Hansen basically said he's had to talk to his family and his kids about the fact that he might not come back. And he's told them, hey, here's where my will is located. Here's where all of my, stuff is in the event something goes wrong. And that's part of being an astronaut. And he flat out said, we need to talk about that more. So that's why I wanted to bring that up too. Oliver Remen saying, Sawyer, I'm a bit late. Where's Jake? Is he okay? He was laying back behind me for a bit of that, if you rewind. Drunar saying, hold on, saying the process is too expensive is a terrible reason to take a needless risk on crew safety.
Agreed.
What do you mean? Artemis is so cheap already. We need that money. Yeah.
But you say it like that. Jeez. That's
true,
good.
Right? Oh my gosh, Artemis is so cheap. We really need to keep the budget down on that because it's totally not over budget and delayed. Anyway, Jim Yoder also saying if you add tobacco to Pica, or I guess I'll say it Pika, do you get Pikachu? See, there it is on the screen. I like it. Oh, come on. That's pretty good. I like it. Very well done, Jim.
Alex and I are in agreement. No, you should feel bad.
No, you should feel bad for not checking out the awesome SLS merch that we have at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Including the picture that's behind Alex is actually available in there too. Yes, we have our entire SLS collection, including the new SLS assembly instructions. I love this one. Basically, it's like IKEA, but for rockets, including get the man in the spacesuit, or the person, I should say, in the spacesuit, build all the different parts, the segments of the SRBs and everything. It's great. And this is part of our Artemis 2 collection, which will be released in increments. This is just one of 3, starting off, of course, with the assembly now that it's rolled out. Once they do the wet dress rehearsal, we'll have a second design released, and then, of course, a big special one for the launch itself as we get closer to launch. So put a bookmark on this page. There's going to be some cool stuff coming. And yeah, I've seen the one for launch.
There's already hints there.
I love it. Yeah, there's some hints. But yeah, so we've got the assembly instructions there, shirts and sweatshirts. We have the classic SLS worm design. And oh yeah, we also have some prints from Rollout. Including ones that were put out by Jerry, ones from Artemis 1 for Max, and then I put in a couple of my own in there as well. Some of my new shots, including 2 brand new ones with the crew access arm up there as well. That's one of Jerry's with the flag, with the Artemis on the crew access arm. I love that. You could see it's like, there's their capsule behind them, there's the Artemis logo. I do really like that part. And then on top of that, we also have the other one where it's the side-on view of those SRBs. The clouds behind it were a paid actor, it seems like. It was just perfect for that. So these are all available, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Check them out, take a look. Prints and posters, shirts, sweatshirts, all that good stuff.
It's
Byford,
orange.
by the way.
It's orange,
yes. You know what's an opposite color from orange? Blue. So how about we talk about some blue? Alex?
I thought that was... Anyways, so yeah, there's been some some blue news this week. Something about some terra waves, something like that. But yeah, apparently Blue is now joining the bandwagon of mega constellations. Can you believe it? Yeah, so it's a very unique thing because Jeff Bezos owns Blue Origin. He partially owns Amazon, and both companies are now, well, one is already launching and putting satellites for a mega constellation in space, and then the other one has proposed to also do that as well. And so we had the news like a couple of days ago, in fact, it's been very recent. And so there you can see the most interesting things. It's like, yeah, another mega constellation, more internet satellite from space, sure, whatever. It's the speed. It's called TerraWave, not because of, it's some cool name. It's because it's up to 6 terabits per second of connectivity. Like, that's bonkers. There's a This Week in Spaceflight episode coming up, and I put a joke there that it's like, you really don't need that kind of that kind of speed is not dedicated to users. Even if you want a 6 terabit per second connectivity, I can assure you that's not for you. So this one is actually for enterprises, and they talk about, potentially data centers and things like that, needing this sort of high speed rates and things like that. And it's actually like a mix of 2 constellations. It's one in low Earth orbit with normal radio waves, right? And then you've got another one with 180 satellites in medium Earth orbit, bit of different shells and whatnot here and there, and different altitudes, but those will be talking directly through lasers to users on the ground. So you might have heard about, Starlink using lasers and whatnot, but those are for communicating between satellites. But if you remember Polaris Dawn and Fram2, those 2 used Placer, the plug-in laser system, on the Dragon trunk to directly talk to the satellites with laser systems. Of course, it's a lot easier in space. It's a lot harder when you have to go through the atmosphere. So I don't know how Blue Origin will deal with all of that, but they are willing to have that kind of connectivity. Of course, we put out a video out there on the Breaking Space channel as well. So you should, if you haven't watched it, you should check it out because we talk about this in more detail and sort of some of the details on the shells and whatnot, and sort of the challenges for this. But it's quite unique, and it's not just another one. They're trying to focus on high data rates, which I think it's nice because then you can download an Alex answer like blip of a second. See what I did there?
That's a lot. That's a lot of terabytes in one Alex.
Yeah,
answer.
right.
Man, that must be real fast. A real fast connection, dude.
But yeah, for people that might not know, we have a second channel, Breaking Space. There you go, breaking down space news.
So okay. All right. Let me ask this, Alex. Is TerraWave? What's Amazon Leo then? Are we just not doing that, or is this a replacement for it, or is this another mega constellation that they're gonna do on top of Leo? Like what are we talking about here? I'm really confused by this.
Ironically, so obviously to be fair, these are different constellations, different companies, right? Even though they are owned by the same person, or at least partially owned by the same person.
Oh, for Pete's sake!
Exactly.
Oh my God.
The ironic thing of this system is that this sort of speed of like 6 terabits per second, this is actually better for somebody like Amazon, right? Like they have the Amazon Web Services and things like that. Like that will be amazing probably for the data centers and whatnot to be able to swing back so much data. I mean, 6 terabits per second right now, you probably are faster just driving it rather than sending it through fiber optic and things like that. So I don't know, like... It just feels ironic that this came out of the blue.
Once again.
Rather than from Amazon, I guess. But yeah, and also Amazon sort of they're trying to focus more on user, like regular users like you and me, right? Although we're probably not regular users anyways.
So Leo is for the end user. This has other applications,
businesses and things like that. To be fair, like there seems to be also like ramifications or branches of Amazon, also Starlink and everything. They also have business sites, right? And dedicated antennas. We talk on This Week in Spaceflight. You'll see it later today. Spoilers. But we talk, for example, about the Starlink Community Gateway, which offers up to 20 gigabits per second of connectivity. But it's like $1 million. It's super expensive. It's bulky and everything. You probably are not going to put that in your house, right? That's the sort of thing that, and let alone lasers, for example, for TerraWave, that will be quite interesting, but probably more suited for businesses and enterprises.
By the way, I love how Ryan Caton's the one that did this video. Did you know Ryan Caton got fiber?
Well, he's getting TerraWave next.
Yeah.
He can't. Ryan can't get Starlink though because it's not aerodynamic enough.
Well, if he's about to be the new CEO of Ryanair. But anyway.
Thank you for getting it.
You're welcome. But check out his X, Twitter, whatever, if you want more context on that. But what's interesting about this one, too, is the fact that it's not just LEO. It's LEO and, I believe, GEO, right?
MEO,
or is it
medium
MEO?
Earth orbit.
Yeah, LEO and MEO. So UO might get a little faster, I guess. But it's just interesting when you think of all these other ones that are meant for that higher speeds that are solely in low Earth and in low Earth orbit versus this one where you're getting the mix.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's some of the official paperwork. We were showing that from the BS. I said BS. Breaking
That's
Space
short
video.
for Breaking Space, folks.
For Breaking Space video. Yeah, because we have NSF and then BS, whatever. But yeah, we were talking, for example, here about, pointing the laser exactly and how you've got, atmospheric refraction and everything and how it's really complicated. Definitely a challenge that they're probably going to enjoy. Like, I bet a bunch of people that work on those systems, they're going to be like, yes, we're going to have lots of things to work on. I know a lot of nerds that will probably be just salivating at the thought of being able to work on something like that. But yeah, man, see, temperatures, and then the laser just doesn't point in the right direction. There's a cloud. It gets attenuated or just disappears completely. We'll see what happens.
Go check out this video and share it with all of your friends and all of that and subscribe to it because it's really cool.
Wait a minute.
Ryan does some great stuff over there.
Wait a minute. You guys are telling me, so Ryan's infographics right there, right? You're telling me that if I use TerraWave in the future, say they do allow end users, and it's it's on orbit data centers. It's a proliferated constellation, so it's a lot of satellites, right? So that means it's going to be like cloud storage that's actually in the clouds. So if we have cloud storage that's actually in the clouds, and you have to beam the data through clouds, that's a lot of clouds.
I was going to say it's above the clouds. It's not in the clouds.
So wait, the cloud is above the clouds?
Yes, exactly. It would be a cloud above the cloud.
Well, wouldn't that just be alto stratus clouds then?
Yes, that is going to be the new name for all of the storage. Instead of in the cloud, it's going to be in the alto stratus. Exactly.
Or is it cumulonimbus?
I don't know. Jake, which one is it? You want to settle the debate?
I do want to discuss one thing.
It's
I don't know.
Phoebe Treats one is apparently the answer.
Sorry.
Because I see already people talking about this
My
in
bad.
chat. Of course, now Jake is the protagonist of chat, of course. But there's an interesting thing here, which is, one of the things of these satellites is that they don't, I was talking about, they have lasers to the ground and everything, but they also have lasers between them, just like Starlink. Amazon Leo also has those. I think OneWave might also have that. So they talk to each other, and that means, you don't have to actually beam things down to ground stations to be able to go all the way around the globe. You can do it between the satellites without needing ground stations in between, which is very nice. But think about it. If you have an orbital data center in the future, and you have your laser system attached to it, then you can point it to either the LEO satellites or the MEO satellites, and then you have those, even the LEO ones, they're claiming up to 144 gigabit per second connectivities. That's still way higher than even the highest speeds that Starlink, for example, is offering for businesses. Again, I said before, 20 gigabits per second, that's maximum. like you can think about in the future of this sort of thing being used to beam that data at high transfer speeds through this system. Like they seem to be preparing for a future where you have to send a lot of data from space down to the ground. It feels to me like that. I don't know if you really have that thought. I'm just seeing some breaking news, but whatever.
We'll get to it. We can get back to it after we finish Blue, but it's interesting just to see all of these constellations popping up, besides the fact that it's getting so crowded up there, because you've got all of the ones that China's launching as well that we don't really talk about because we don't really know as much about. You've got Starlink, you've got Leo that is trying to go all in, especially this year, to try and get their numbers up and compete with Starlink, which is very hard to do. It's just, yeah, now we get another constellation, except this is one that not even everyone can use. This is just for enterprise and businesses and stuff. It just, I don't know. It feels like we're putting too much hardware up for networks that are kind of conflicting at this point. I know there needs to be competition, otherwise you end up with monopolies, and monopolies are bad, especially because it's such a boring board game. But it's just, I don't know. Is this too much? In my opinion, it's getting to the point of too much. Yes, it's nice to have the faster speeds, but we don't even get to use it as ordinary people. Well, as ordinary as we can be on the Flame Trench.
What are you trying to say?
You know what I'm trying to say.
Wait, am I weird? Am I the weird
If you
one?
were normal, you wouldn't be a part of NSF.
Why are you weird? What's going on?
I don't
Speak your thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, Sawyer,
You're from Boston. Enough said. Anyway.
Oh, man. Anyway, dude, I want to say it's too much. This is a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on out there, but they don't call it space for no reason. You know, there's a lot of it.
We're talking about all of space versus low Earth orbit and medium Earth orbit.
Even still, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I don't. Okay, all right. Here's EJ's honest opinion time. People are not going to like this. You know, maybe finish one constellation before you make another. Just saying. Just putting it out there. I get it. They're two different companies, two different applications. I get it.
Oh,
what's launching all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, one's a subsidiary.
How's that
Blue
going to
Origin
happen?
and all of that.
Well,
Those
this
are
one-
subsidiaries of Amazon, right?
This one has the advantage of just using Blue Origin's own launcher, unlike Amazon, which had to go with like 3 different rockets, a 4th one after a lawsuit. So, yeah, I was going to mention that, the timeline for this is the 4th quarter of 2027. So we're still probably like 2 years until we see this launching, because it will most likely delay to 2028. So, yeah. And already Elon has mentioned that Starlink in the future will also have laser-to-ground, space-to-ground lasers as well. So, competition, I guess, if you will.
Sounds so sci-fi.
That is one heck of a scale up if Blue is going to use New Glenn for that. That
hey,
is
9x4.
What's that?
9x4, right?
Upgraded New Glenn.
With a wider fairing and everything.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that. I just
If it can launch 70 metric tons to low Earth orbit.
I mean,
that's
a lot. That's a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not saying that Blue doesn't have the chops to get all this stuff done, but now you have 2 mega constellations that you have to make. You have an arguably super heavy launch vehicle that you have to make. You have 2 landers that you have to make. You have an in-flight
they're doing a
refueler
lot.
that you have to like, that's a lot, dude. Like, I'm not trying to be, I like 9x4 despite what people might think. I think that's a pretty cool stopgap till whatever comes after that. Yeah, we know something's coming after that. That's the game, right?
How many years have we been hearing about Armstrong?
Right? I'm just, dude, I can't help but think, like, that's a lot. That's a lot of different programs going on, dude. And I guess we just got to wait and see, because that Dude, if this was I'll be real with you. If any other company like proposed 2 mega constellation, and once again, I get it. One's Amazon and the other isn't. I get it. I understand. But even if you don't count Amazon Leo, which New Glenn is going to launch a lot of those, right? Even if you don't count that and you don't count TerraWave, right? That is still an insane amount of things that you need to get done between Mark 1, Blue Moon Mark 1, Blue Moon Mark 2, New Glenn reusability. That's a lot, dude. If it was any other company, I'd be like, yeah, sure, you're going to do that. No, I'm just wondering, like, have they put too much on their plate? Maybe not. I mean, if anybody can do it, I would think it'd be them. I wouldn't, like I said, if it's anybody else, I'd be like, But we know Blue's a big company. They're working on all kinds of stuff in the background, but this is a lot.
Does DTC count as a separate constellation? Because they technically count it as separate at SpaceX. The direct-to-cell one with the LTE antennas. Because they had that, and now with Starship, it's going to be like Starlink V3 and Starlink V3 DTC as well. Like, it's going to be weird as well there.
Yeah, I understand, Alex. If SpaceX, that's a good point. If SpaceX took on another constellation like DTC or Starshield or something, I'd still be like, okay, right?
I forgot about Starshield as well. They have
right?
Starshield. At one point, they were even bidding for the Space Development Agency. The tranches and everything.
SDA tranche. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tranche, whatever.
Yeah. Don't even get me.
We say it French. Tranche. That's how we say it now.
That's been a whole argument.
The flame tranche.
The flame tranche.
Which, by the way, I see people in chat pointing out the fact that, hey, this is interesting that this is coming up directly from Blue, and the only type of people that would need that highest speed might be governments, and Tori Bruno is now with Blue. Maybe some Golden Dome usage for this?
Might need the high data transfers.
That's exactly what this is for, dude. That ain't a coincidence. They bring in Tori Bruno for defense projects, and then TerraWave comes out a couple of weeks later. That ain't no coincidence.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's no coincidence.
Can I give?
This ain't no party. This ain't no disco.
This ain't no party.
Kevin. God.
Hi. I don't even think this is for governments. I don't think governments are transferring that much information. This is data centers. This is people who are delivering to consumers, who are delivering web products to consumers. This is for transferring data between data centers and allowing connectivity around the world. This is it's a completely different product than Starlink. It's a completely different product than Amazon Leo. And you know what? Amazon is going to benefit from this product as well, I would assume, because this is going to allow them to connect their data center in China with their data center on the west coast of the United States, and not have to pay for cross-sea cable. Right? There's so much, we see it so often, especially right now, where cross-sea cables are getting cut as a way of stopping communications. We saw it in Israel. I want to say in the Middle East. We've seen it to Hong Kong. We've seen it to Australia. This takes that away, and that you're actually keeping whole countries connected at that point. Not governments, but whole populations of people connected. I think it's a really important product. But I think it's cool. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is, two different companies, but again, two different products, right? Amazon has Amazon Web Services has like 3 or 4 different types of database services. Everybody needs a different service, and it depends on what you're trying to do.
So why would Blue make TerraWave then? Why wouldn't Amazon make it?
They don't have a rocket launcher. They don't have a rocket. Amazon doesn't have a rocket. Blue has the rocket. Blue's taking the SpaceX path, right? Blue's going to launch their own satellites whenever they don't have another product that they need to launch for someone else, and then they're going to build a mega bank, basically, to continue funding their other projects. Blue wants to go to Mars just as much as SpaceX does, and this is how they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, they have a lot of ambitions. Like it seems like, as somebody was saying in chat, they're putting the ferocitor in random ferocitor, I think, was something like that. Right? Like that. Like they are really pushing through. It is true that it may seem a lot, but if you look at SpaceX, like they are also doing a lot. It's just that we see a lot more from SpaceX because their programs are much more into their timelines, right? Like Starlink began in 2015, 2014, right? It's already been going for 12 years. So it's quite well into the program right now. Starship also many more years into the program. Falcon, same. Dragon, all of these different programs that they are in, they are quite deep into them. Whereas Blue is like, here's another program, and a few months later, here's another program, right? Like, and so they are just beginning with a bunch of different programs right now, and so it feels like too much. But I feel like they're just slowly going through, and they have the Blue Alchemist program, for example, for their lunar permanence stuff. Like they have all of these things of like creating solar cells from regolith and things like that. Like it feels to me that sure there might be a lot of but they are doing advances, and there's even more Blue news today if we want to go through those.
I was trying to segue into them, but we kept talking. But yeah, you sure they didn't just install the cables upside down in Australia, Kevin? That's not why that stopped working?
I mean, that is part of the problem, besides the fact that they're like a million miles away from land, like Big Island,
Yeah, blame Harry Stranger.
Imagine the day when, I can imagine a day without internet, but imagine the day when all you had was slow satellite internet. Like,
horrors. But yeah,
I know people that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because again, there's the high-speed stuff, there's the slower speed ones, and there's still the traditional type of connection networks that they have in space as well. And in fact, that kind of ties into NG3, the next launch coming up for Blue Origin. We know who the customer is, and also we know what booster is going to be flying it. Right, Alex?
Yeah, so... Well, Jacqueline right now is at Port Canaveral. You can probably see it on SpaceX Live if I were to bet. But I'm actually checking SpaceX Live. No, you cannot see it, but
there isn't Jacqueline.
We're looking at Bob and Doug and the two drone ships from SpaceX, but it's close by. So yeah, NG3, New Glenn 3, the third flight of New Glenn is coming up hopefully in a bit over a month from now, late February, and it's going to carry the Bluebird Block 2, the second of the Bluebird satellites from ASD Space Mobile. And in that case, we're talking about mega constellations, their own mega in quotes constellation. It's a bit over 100 satellites, I think, so it's not too mega, but still quite a few satellites up there that they want to launch. So yeah, this is the second of their second generation, the Block 2 satellites. These are just direct to cell phone satellites, very much like Starlink DTC as I was talking before. Just delivering connectivity direct to phones with no modifications to the phones. And in this case, it's going to be, as I said, just one single satellite, the second one of their Block 2 Bluebird satellites. But the important thing, in my opinion, because the payload, we've seen it already. It's launched on Launch Vehicle Mark III and whatnot. But the booster is going to be the one from the previous New Glenn flight. Where's Jacqueline? It's there, and the booster landed on it, and it's now going to be reused on this next flight. So that's going to be about 3.5 months, maybe 4 if it delays a little bit more, of a turnaround for that booster. Really, really nice. Not bad.
Yeah, especially when you consider SpaceX's original turnaround. Now I know a lot of experience has been learned because SpaceX has been setting the standard for it, and also the fact that they have their new Shepard smaller vehicles that also land. But the original turnaround time from the first Falcon 9 landing to the first reuse of a Falcon 9 was 11 months. And this we're looking at about 4-ish months. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I wonder what was involved in, the checks and everything and how everything looked inside the vehicle, like what damage there was, what they needed to replace, if anything.
Sawyer, I would say if we're turning this booster around this quickly, that it's probably not a lot. something. It was probably some small things that need tidying up here and there, and then not a lot. I mean, if they're using this thing, if they're using it 4 months later, new GS1 is not simple. But that's the whole point. It's not a simple piece of equipment because it is a fully reusable vehicle built to be fully reusable from the start. Right, Glenn Stage 1, not the entirety of New Glenn, right?
Exactly.
So, this thing went right onto the pad on its first flight, landing gear, auxiliary power units, HPUs in the aft section to make all the hydraulics work down there. They didn't get it on the first try, which sucks, but they did get it on the second try. And if they're using this thing that quickly, that thing was built to roll from the start, which is pretty cool. So whatever it is, it's minimal. I mean, the vehicle didn't look that bad. It looked fine. It looked fine to me. Good. Put it back on the pad. Send it again.
They also have a lot of experience. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to mention New Shepard that, just this week they flew a booster that I was flying for the 17th time, and it still looked pretty much, they still look pretty much new, just a bit scorched and whatnot. And it seems to me that they drew a lot of the experience from that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're also talking, a single hydrogen peroxide engine versus 7 BE4s?
You mean Hydrolox?
Hydrolox on New Shepard, dude, yeah.
It's got hydrogen in the name, right?
Hydroperox, but...
hydrogen peroxide's close enough, dude. It's H2NO2. We're good. Fine. It's close enough.
It has hydrogen.
Yeah,
it's
but
okay.
It's my job to know stuff here. That's why people watch us, I think. I don't know why you guys watch us, but thank you.
Hey, but we're errors. But we're errors, and we can have humans, right? Oh, wait.
I'm American. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're not Canadian. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see it fly again. Also, another reason why they might be pushing it to fly this soon, if I had to guess, is the fact that they don't have another, right? I mean, think about it. We've seen in the background when they were getting ready to launch this booster for the first time that, there's another first stage kind of in there, but it's not ready. It hasn't really been fully tested yet. Mm-hmm. There's still so much work that it seems like needs to be done to get a new booster out there that if they didn't get this one refurbished and ready to fly, we're still talking a couple months from a next flight versus being able to launch, later this month or early next month.
Yeah, I mean, Sawyer, that just reinforces my belief that, so you're saying there's a chance they fully intended for that vehicle to land. Losing that was a big, colossal fustercluck. They really, that's what I mean. These vehicles are fully built and ready to go. They're reusable right from the start. They had every intention on landing that thing on the first try, and it really sucks that it didn't. Because of the engine bleed system, thermal controls. That happens though. That's what happens when if you're not going to know if your analysis is great in your first try until you corroborate it with some flight data, right? Like now they know. I guarantee that won't happen again. But yeah, I really think them not having that other GS1 another operable GS1 is hurting them a little bit. They got to kick up manufacturing into overdrive to replace it. Because like I said, these things aren't like a Falcon 9 where they launched it a bunch, and then they put legs on it, and then they put grid fins on it, and then look at it landed, and no. This thing was fully intended to get up there and come right back down from the start. So it's a little bit of a different engineering construct, if you will. So yeah, they're still. I do believe they're still hurting from not getting that first GS1 back. Man,
we're talking 4 years for 4 years for Falcon 9 from when it first launched to when they first were able to land one, and technically 5 years from the first time they launched, the first time they were able to launch a reused booster.
Yeah,
they don't have that luxury with Blue here. I mean, they kind of have to if they want to keep the pace up, if they want to be competitive, especially when, again, talking about those constellations, you have Amazon Leo that has a bunch of flights booked, that is behind schedule, and is relying a lot on being able to launch on New Glenn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they gotta ramp up. They gotta make more GS1s. I mean, I'm not gonna complain when that happens. I want to see. Please make more of those. I think 7x2 is a great rocket for what it's worth. I think it's fantastic. The thing rules. If anything, just for the hover landing, just for the hover and the slew onto the drone ship. That was awesome, man.
We'll see how
really
much it
cool.
slews in future missions if that drops down, but
Right.
oh, that was pretty.
Dude, where's Jacqueline? Hey,
it's in the intro. There's Jacqueline. Jacqueline's in the intro.
Jacqueline is in
but
the
yeah,
intro.
Also, we thought Jacqueline was going to be the one carrying Blue's Mark 1 lander. Turns out it was a different vehicle that carried Blue's Mark 1 lander over to the Johnson Space Center to be able to be tested in one of their vacuum chambers, same ones they kind of used for the Apollo vehicles. So all of that is still to come, and I believe that was supposed to be Flight 3 was supposed to launch the Mark 1 Blue lander, but obviously if it's just heading now to Houston, then it's still in testing.
Yeah, that was one of the other things as well that I was going to mention, that it's weird, though, that, originally the third flight of New Glenn was supposed to have happened by now, right? It was supposed to be, I think, at one point mid-January. And it was supposed to also launch the Blue Moon Mark 1 lander, but the Blue Moon Mark 1 lander is obviously not ready yet, as you were mentioning. It's now going to the Johnson Space Center for thermal vacuum testing out there at their chambers and whatnot. So it stands to reason, it makes sense now why they changed to the Bluebird satellite. However, the Bluebird satellite, it shipped to the Cape more than a month ago. And I will be willing to bet the fact that it is already ready to go. Like, I believe Julia also saw arriving at some point, like staged outside of KC, like fairings and whatnot. Might have been for Vulcan, I have no idea, but they were carrying that sort of thing. What if the delay to February is not related to the payload?
Is it weird that I thought it wasn't the payload to begin with?
Okay.
I know they said that, but at the same time, again, it seemed like they were hoping to use a new booster or see how quickly they could refurbish this one, and maybe the refurbishment took a little bit longer. So it's like, oh yeah, I mean, it only got here a month ago, so it's a little on the late side. That's just my opinion personally, but
makes sense. Yeah, first time.
There's the lander, by the way, as it was heading out from port.
It's on a boat.
And our own Jerry Pike was also out there getting some cool drone views too.
Is that
But yeah.
We actually got to know this because, like, Julie every now and then drives by, right? And so she saw at the port, they have this, not at the port, excuse me, at the main campus, right, at KC, outside of the gates and everything. I remember driving by when I went to Florida. It's a huge place, and they had this can-looking thing. It's so weird outside, and she actually spotted that as he was going out of their lunar plant building, as they call it, out there at the KC. So it was like, it's on the move. Where it's gonna go?
Well, they also have Lunar Plant 1, which is technically their second lunar plant, and then there's Lunar Plant 2, which is the first. That's a whole thing. But...
Yeah.
And also, random fun fact, that road that now runs by Blue Origin's campus and by the entrance to the visitor complex is now State Road 321. Yes, that's exactly why you think it was named that.
Yeah, I get it.
Let me thank some people here. Bideford.
That's the amount of delays.
Ooh, the spice. Flame Trench getting spicy there. Bideford, $25 super chat. Opinions between everyone is good. Time for a margarita as to handle the stress. Astronauts know they accept risk when flying. Thank you, NSF, for discussing. Of course. Hey, did you hear about the heat shield? I don't think we talked about that.
What heat shield?
Yeah. Carolyn saying, poor EJ, all love and respect. Ego is cool. So, there you go.
Cheers.
Scott's Photography with the $2 super, but no message. Jim Yoder coming in saying Blue is making it so they can sell it to Azure/GCP. Again, that's kind of what Kevin was thinking there. Anonymous getting a print from the shop saying beautiful photo. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate that. Because again, a portion of each of the print sales does go to the photographer that took it. I don't think we have the banner working yet with this profile. But actually, I think it's one of my prints. Cool. Thank you. And then crispy, like crispy bacon. It's a name we haven't seen here in a very long time, but coming in with a $250 tip to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Golly gee willikers, wow. Saying, in the famous words of Aaron Lewis, it's been a while. Glad I could be around for a Friday Flame Trench. Love you guys and your work. Keep it up. Side note, cameras be looking good on MGL. That's our McGregor Live 24/7 live cameras. Always appreciate the fine views. Well, thank you, Crispy. It's good to see you back. I hope everything's been well with you. And holy cow, thank you. Taking the extra effort to going to the tips page, which helps us more directly. We do this because we love it. Again, like I said, why do you guys watch us? Someone said they're watching for the puns. Thank you, Alan. But we appreciate it. We love what we do, in case you couldn't tell. So thank you. And then also gifting 40 Red Team memberships on top of that. Chris P. Not Chris Bergen, Chris P. Like crispy, like it says in your name. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Wow. We have some breaking news, folks. It's official. The Artemis 2 crew has now entered their quarantine period ahead of the Artemis 2 launch. So this usually starts about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of launch, and they will start over in Houston. They will then make their way by T-38 over to the Kennedy Space Center, where they will then quarantine in the Neil A. Armstrong Operations and Checkout Facility, the O&C building, as you may have heard referred to as. And that's the same building that they will walk out of on their way to the launch pad inside the Boeing Starliner Astrovan repainted to be Artemis 2. So that is all still to come. But yeah, we're getting that much closer. So, hey, did you hear about their heat? No, I'm kidding. All right. We may not be talking about heat shields there, but I will say it's a bad week to be a tank and having to do pressure testing. We had one of them that was for Neutron that had a little bit of a pop, as Micah, who's over there for NSF tracking everything, caught. And then also we had one at Starbase 18.3 that decided to have a little poof event just a couple days ago. Right, Alex? What's going on with Starship?
Oh, we're going with Starship first. All right, well...
Oh, I mean, wait, which one do you want to do first?
I thought EJ was going to be doing
first,
this
and then we'll go to 18.3. How about that?
Yeah, let's do Neutron first, and that sort of puts us right with Starship. But yeah, so...
I'm running this show. I know what we're doing, totally.
So there was a certain testing at Maryland. I think it's Riverdale. I don't remember exactly the name of the place. I'm really sorry, Marylanders, or whatever is the name. But yeah, so that's where Rocket Lab has some of their manufacturing facilities for Neutron. They also have split manufacturing as well in New Zealand. But this was the very happy. Look at that. It had a face. And everything.
God,
it had a hat, and it was
at the top.
It was a Neutron stage 1 testing, because this is just the tank section of the Neutron first stage. Then it will have the big sort of empty space for the second stage to sit on, and then the hungry hippo and everything, which we'll talk about that as well. And then below that there will be the thrust section and whatnot, right? So yeah, I was just happy there at their test site. It was just, minding its own business. And then suddenly one day it just decided to pop. It just decided to say, okay, I'm done with this. And look at that. Poor tank.
Oof.
Oh, no more happy face. Now it's just a pile.
Oh, that's not great.
Look at that. Look at that. Poor happy guy.
Alex, was that a qualification tank or was that a flight tank?
Well, that's a good question for once I sort of go through what happened, right? So Rocket Lab actually came out later that day after, because these pictures, by the way, these are from Pat out there at Maryland, and he usually checks into that facility and takes pictures and whatnot. He was sort of checking on that test tank for a few days here and there. And yeah, Rocket Lab eventually came out later that day and said, yeah, so it popped unexpectedly. They were doing series of testing, right? It's part of a qualification test campaign of the stage 1 tanks. And it actually broke during a hydrostatic test. So on a hydrostatic test, what they do is instead of loading any cryogenics or any high pressure gases, instead they load water at pressure, and sort of they tend to check the for leaks and things like that, instead of some kind of cryogenic that might be a little bit more dangerous, right, for people around. Still, don't get me wrong, high pressure water still can hurt you, but it's less dangerous overall. And so by the looks of the test stand and the hardware that they were putting on that tank, it seemed like they were about to do at some point in the future like some kind of can crush testing, where they put some kind of tie downs and things like that, and they simulate the loads on the tank and whatnot. And they were probably planning later down the line to test it with cryos and things like that, cryogenic fluids and whatnot. But unfortunately, it failed on that hydrostatic test. So we'll see what happens. But EJ, you got, you literally, the big question after that press release is that they did not explain whether it was a flight tank or just for this qualification campaign. I seriously thought that it was going to be for a qualification tank, but the fact that they didn't say whether it was for, like, after this campaign, it was going to be flying or not, makes me think that maybe it was planned eventually to fly for real. But we'll see what happens. They have another test tank as well, not testing, but in general, they have more tank sections for stage 1 in production. And so, but really a bad day to be a tank.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that they've got more, but in the works. But EJ, what are your thoughts?
I don't think that was a test article, dudes. I really don't think that was a test article. I think Rocket Lab had every intention of making that a flight tank. If it was some kind of test, that they were intentionally doing destructive testing. So most of the time, if you're doing qualification, guys, in testing, you're doing what's called NDT. It's non-destructive testing, meaning that it doesn't pop. If they're going to do destructive testing, right? Don't you think, there would have been like a hazard area and stuff, and like, don't come here, right? Don't come near it. We might crush this thing. Like, no, I entirely believe that was not supposed to happen. I really think so. They wouldn't have done a whole press release, right? Like saying like, oh, sometimes this happens. If it was, sometimes. What do you mean sometimes this happens? Was it a problem with the test stand? Did somebody put too much water in it? Was the pressures? Did you overpressure it? Was it something with GSE here? What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? Like, it's very interesting to me because this could have potentially exposed some incomplete analysis about Neutron. You know what I mean? We kind of have to wait and see. Are we going to see another one of these roll out of the factory the next day, proverbially, or is it going to, are we 6 months out and then the thing that they roll out doesn't look like that? What happened here? I mean, I'd be curious to know. If Rocket Lab has they have no obligation to tell us. But yeah, I firmly believe that was supposed to fly. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you can see in that picture in particular, at the bottom, you can see some of the positions where they will have the tie downs located, right? And then there will be sort of these I don't know, pistons or something like that to be able to press down. And then the cap, of course, was probably for that purpose. But this popped well before any of that was installed on this rig. So I really wonder how much this will delay things. Sawyer, go ahead.
I was going to say, the other thing to point out, that was water. That had nothing to do with cryogenics. Now add in super chilled propellants to this and get into the negative temperatures in the negative triple digits, and then see how it performs. If it can only perform that way at ambient temperature with just water at those pressures, imagine when you then add in temperature in addition to that. That's concerning.
Yeah, that it shouldn't be popping during hydrostatic testing. I really, really hope something went wrong with the test stand, which does happen. That does happen. Sometimes the test stand malfunctions, But I guess it really depends. It really depends on when we see another qualification article roll out from Rocket Lab. If they roll out another one, a month from now, even like in a couple weeks, I think that pretty much proves that was, it was just a fluke or something, like with the stand or something. But if it takes 6 months till we see another Neutron part, we got a big problem here. Because remember, Rocket Lab has a fiduciary responsibility to recruit to make profit off of Neutron to recoup their technical debt from engineering a new launch vehicle. I said this during our predictions at the beginning of the year. I think Rocket Lab has to launch Neutron this year. I don't think they have a choice. There's only so much time, you could take at building this new launch vehicle. There's only a certain amount of money that you could invest in this project before it has to work. Because that's public trading, man. You have a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders to make profit. You have to make profit. You can't run the books into the red for a year straight, or however long the rocket vehicle's been in development. That's it's not a year, but you get the idea. It's very interesting here.
And our team will keep popping over to check on the progress over at Rocket Lab's facilities there. So definitely make sure you're following the socials so you can see all of the photos that Micah and Pat have been posting over there. So a huge thanks to them for getting all of this too.
Huge thanks, really.
Yes, really.
You didn't just do that.
I sure did.
Well, something that was not a tank, but Neutron related.
I'm under pressure to come up with these, okay?
Something that is Neutron related, but not a tank, because I thought, it was probably worth of mentioning.
You're chomping at the bit for this, aren't you?
I'm a very hungry hippo, yeah. So we can see here the hungry hippo of Neutron there. It's been tested in New Zealand and barged over all the way out. And now it is there at the launch site and has arrived for integration. Timeline TBD. We'll see when. But it arrived. Now they just need a second stage and a first stage that doesn't pop. No, but truly, it's really complicated carbon fiber at this size. It's not easy. And now you understand why, for Starship, SpaceX decided to go to stainless steel. Because now, I'm not going to venture to say that this is the case, but imagine that the problem was the manufacturing method for that tank, right? Of the first stage. Now you got to change the design of the tank, of how you build it and how you cure the layers and whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
Good luck. Man. That's expensive with carbon fiber, because now you have, with stainless steel, you just weld the ring differently and you put a dome in some other position, right? With carbon fiber, that's a lot more complicated. And so I do wonder what sort of, I really hope deep inside of me that this was just a test error, right? And those happen, and we've seen that with many vehicles. Blue Origin also had one of those. Firefly, they had also another stage as well blowing up. You see many times this sort of pattern, right? Where sometimes a test just goes wrong because the test stand does something in the wrong way, right? Or the conditions are not the ones that you expected. So, look, I really hope that that's the case in this case, because otherwise it's not an easy way to recover from that. So shout out to all of the engineers and everything, because they have a lot of work to do now.
I mean, the Chomper is still so freaking cool. I love the concept.
It is.
I hope we get to see it on a tank soon.
You know what's crazy to me? Those pictures that we were just rolling through there. It's got a K-Whopper. There's a K-Whopper that's pulling it, the Kenworth, right? That's a 3-axle Kenworth. Okay, yeah, truck time. I know. Just real quick, that's not a small big rig. That is a huge big rig. It's a 3-axle big rig. That thing's gigantic, and it looks
5 meter diameter.
It looks like a toy compared to the Neutron variant. Neutron isn't even the biggest rocket around. That's crazy to me, dude.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. That makes that truck look tiny. That truck isn't tiny. It's gigantic. Look at the dude sitting in it. It's huge. The fairing is freaking enormous compared to it. That's awesome.
Oversized load is an understatement, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Guys, you think that meets DOT weight standards? I think it's heavy. It's got a spotter vehicle. So you guys see that? See the white truck behind it with the light bar on the top? that means the thing is a certain weight. So you have to have a spotter past a certain weight. That thing is real big and real heavy, even though it's made out of carbon fiber. For DOT standards, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's just, I'm sorry, that's super cool to me. That's a 3-axle K-Whopper. That is a big rig. That's about as big as you can get for those things. And it's just tiny. It's a little tiny thing. It's cool.
That is a whopper of a payload.
It is. I'll allow that one.
Thank you.
I'll allow that one, dudes.
Yeah.
That's good.
That one fits the bill. Anyway, it's not the only tank, though, that went pop recently. If we go down from the East Coast in Virginia over down towards Texas and Starbase, we had another one pop over there, too. Yay! Kevin, pun token awarded.
Nice. I'm here for this.
He's on the ball. He's like...
No, on the truck, not on the ball. But anyway.
Yeah, with a spotter vehicle.
Yes, on the spotter vehicle.
Oh, my goodness.
This is what you get for sticking around through all the heat shield talk. Terrible puns.
Sorry,
Thanks for
Chad.
sticking around.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, Alex, Starship.
Boy. Yeah, so we had another pop with Starship. Thankfully, this was not a flight vehicle. This was really a test tank itself. So this was B-18.3. It is a forward... So it is a test tank to test the forward end of the new version of the booster with the hot staging truss and things like that new sort of thing for hot staging. And so it was doing testing when suddenly it crunched. It had the common dome weld. It just failed. So it's a test tank. It's essentially like just a normal common dome at the bottom, and then you've got the forward dome with the truss and everything. And recently they also installed like a simulator of the bottom of a ship, sort of the ship skirt on top with the cap, and they were hoping to do the crunch test as well. I'm not sure if this was an actual crunch test or was a result of some kind of failure, like maybe before they actually started. I have no idea, because it's one of those things that, you know, we are not privy to the details of these tests, and definitely there was no press release from SpaceX about this, but yeah, so this was essentially what we saw when that happened. And you can see there's like this sort of frost, and then suddenly the frost line shakes. Boom, there we go. See, and there are close-up pictures from Colleen, who went out there, I think like pretty much right after that that happened, and you can see the weld line for the common dome broken, and stringers popped off and things like that. Like they reinforced those weld lines with stringers as well on the outside, and it popped off. The ironic thing of this is that is not what they were testing here. Like they were testing the top. The bottom is just some kind of random common dome section that they welded to the forward dome section that they were testing. Like the purpose of the test tank was to test the thing above, and that apparently did not fail. It was the thing that's sort of proven to work already, which is the common dome. So it's quite ironic, but still, there's a caveat or silver lining, I guess, that it was not the thing that they were actually looking to test that failed. It was something else. My guess is that they might just cut it off and weld another section below it. They might just do that because SpaceX, and they tend to do that sort of thing many times. So yeah.
Yeah, because SpaceX. I mean, wouldn't
it's
be surprised.
SpaceX, and also I mean stainless steel is you just weld it and do it. Again,
So
yeah.
wait, Alex, just for reiteration, dude, I got a little bit lost in that long answer. Was this on purpose?
Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
I know. I usually keep up.
I'm not sure that the purpose was to break the common dome, because this test tank is to test the forward end, right? Like that truss and the dome, right? Because those two things are new, right?
And you're saying they put the stringers around it too, right?
The on the common dome, yes. On the forward end, there's no stringers. There used to be, but now there are not. And one of the things that I think happened here is that they probably had some kind of issue during manufacturing of that common dome section. Like it's two barrel sections, the forward end and the common dome section, right? Welded together, and there was probably some kind of defect or something like that did not catch at any point, or maybe during, because they also went many times inside of that tank during testing while it was out there. There were many tests beforehand as well without the crash campaign, the crash cap above and everything. So it could have been something like that, right?
Yeah, how do you know if it's a defect? How do you know it's not a design problem?
Well, we will have bigger problems because it's the same common dome as pretty much all of the... Well, the weld might be the same, the dome itself not. But yeah, let's put it that way. It should be around the same weld. The dome itself has a wider hole in the middle for the transfer tube than the previous ones, but it's still the sort of E-dome, the elliptical dome, the flatter one, right? That they used on, I think, starting on booster 10 forwards. Now on version 3, they're using a different opening at the middle because the transfer tube is wider and whatnot. But in theory, the weld to the barrel itself, the tank, should be the same. Might even be better because they have had a bunch more tooling, but it might be a defect. We see multiple times as well, like some discarded barrel sections as well, every now and then coming out of the Star Factory. There's a lot of new tooling coming through that line. So, but yeah, you can see there, it's obvious that this was not what they were stress testing, right? Like, to reiterate, the thing that we're testing is the thing above. If the thing below broke, that is not expected. That is not the thing that you expect to break if you're testing the one above. Unless the one above is so well and so much better designed that suddenly you actually break the one below. But I digress.
Interesting. Yeah, because, I'm just... The reason why I bring it up, dude, is just because they haven't seemed to... SpaceX hasn't seemed to have had much luck with Block 3 stuff. Really has a knack for just blowing up on the test stand. Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Even if it was, because it could also be, again, just like we talked with Rocket Lab, right? It could also be a test issue, right? That suddenly something went wrong during the test. We know, for example, back in the day, SN3 had this issue where they depressurized the tank below, and the one above was still loaded with liquid nitrogen, and then it sort of crumpled, right? Like, those sorts of things happen. So regardless of the root cause of whatever this, this thing happened, right? Like, whatever caused this, it's no doubt that, this will impact the qualification of that forward thrust section. So I really wonder if they will be willing to fly without fully qualifying that. Because we've seen in the past that they've done that. They just qualified things after they have actually flown, which is quite hilarious, but it's happened. So I don't know. We'll see. That's my take. I don't know. We'll see. Pretty much like the Neutron one, to be fair. Like, I'm in a mood of like, I have no idea. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you have destructed testing and you didn't mean to have destructed testing, then you did something's wrong.
Or at least a destructive testing on the part that is not meant to be tested, right? Like, if the thing that crumpled was the top, because if they were doing crash testing and whatnot, I'll be okay. Well, they found a failure point, or they tested to failure or whatever, right? I'd be okay with that. This case is like, even if it's a test stand issue or like a test issue, it's like, but that's not the part that's supposed to break, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's not really what we want to see. I want to see Block 3 flying, man.
Wolf is asking, by the way, is it possible they used that common dome for a test article because they knew it was defective and couldn't use it for a flight article? Is that something SpaceX would do? Well, I mean, yes, it's something they would do, but I mean, in this case.
I don't know if using a defective thing for your qualification testing is the wisest decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
maybe.
I guess my other question is, what are the main changes that they're testing here compared to what they flew on version 2? Is this upgraded from for version 3? And what's the main key difference between what they have been flying?
See, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Alex?
Oh, you mean for what they were testing? Well, the new truss structure on the forward end, of course, that's one of the big changes, that it is now integrated into the dome structure. The dome also has a lot of these different reinforcement patterns and things like that. I think this one in particular doesn't have like the burn plates, for example, that was on the flight article on Booster 18, RIP. And it is also on Booster 19 as well. But yeah, so they have a lot of structural things to test there because it is completely different. The previous design was a different ring, which, by the way, they still tested that. Just saying, there was also a crash testing of that back in the day. And really, like, it feels to me that it may not be a huge deal in the sense that they can always just try and slap another new barrel section as long as the truss section is still intact. They may even be trying, like, I can even see them just removing the truss itself. Like, you can actually remove it, separate it from the tank, because I don't think it's welded. It's like bolted to the tank structure. So you can, in theory, remove it and then put it on another one. There were also indications that they may wanted to test in the future the new sockets for the grid fins, the new layout of the grid fins with the T shape, and the sockets in sort of inside of the tank itself and things like that. Like, it seemed as if they wanted to do that sort of testing way later down the line, very much like we saw, for example, you were talking about Neutron just many minutes ago, where we were talking about, in the future, it seemed as if they wanted to do the crash testing. Well, in this case, because of certain things that we had been seeing around, the test stand and certain pieces of hardware and whatnot, it seemed as if in the future they probably wanted to do that kind of load testing and test the grid fins as well. I have no idea if this will also impact that testing, if, they'll decide, let's just fly Flight 12, Booster 19, without fully testing this out. And, if we get data out of that, sure, we'll complement that with more ground testing later down the line. Like, it could be like that. They've done that before. It wouldn't be surprising to me, at the very least, to see them doing that. But we'll see.
Speaking of, where are we at with Booster 19 already? At this point, it feels like, shouldn't it be out already? Shouldn't it be rolling? Where is it?
That's the other thing that's kind of concerning me, Sawyer. Where is it? Where's Booster 19? Where's Jacqueline?
There it isn't.
There it isn't. It's still, you'd think that we'd see 19 being rolled out for some qualification, cryo testing, something. We see nothing. We just see tanks on the test stand and they're popping. Is like, I don't know. I'm not trying to, maybe I'm connecting dots that aren't there, but also at the same time, like, but then again, I suppose you could make the argument that there's no rush. Even if you do complete testing, the pad ain't finished, so.
Is it, though? Isn't it basically almost done now?
Yeah, it's
very,
close.
very close. It's really close, yeah.
And one where that is no longer
that's a different
holdup
pad
in this case, where I originally thought it was months ago, and people berated me for it. But yeah, the pad is not going to be the holdup, that's for sure, because it's so close to being done. I mean, they're already working on the new ASU, the air separation unit, so they're making progress over there.
Yeah, we recently had a Starbase update where we actually talk about this, where it was like, if you go through mentally, all of the major hardware installations and everything on the pad, they're done. with all of the major stuff. Now it's like the little things here and there. Like if you look, for example, at the quick disconnect arm, there's still a few lines still to be plugged in and whatnot. You can see the connection still open and whatnot. If you look at the launch mount, there's still a few plates to install for protection. But for example, the hold down arms, they already have their protection plates as well. These things that, you know, when they retract, there are the covers that sort of, you know, go in and cover the hold down arms. You've got the booster quick disconnects. They've been tested multiple times at retraction and you know, all of these things are pretty much, the major things are pretty much installed. It's just final checks. I feel like in the next few weeks we're gonna see some of those. Like we even have seen already some testing of flowing propellants out to the launch mount as well, and activation of some of the vents on the launch mount, which was really incredible recently. So it's very, very close, very, very close. But of course, the problem is we've got no booster, we got no ship, so we'll see.
You don't need a booster and a ship to launch a booster and ship, right?
And then there's this.
And what is this?
Nice.
They're drilling tiles. This has been a developing thing for like last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, where we've seen. So this is ship 40. This is actually the next ship after flight 12. So knock on wood, flight 13. After booster 18, you never know. So flight 13, ship 40. They were drilling on the tiles. They were doing things there. We don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe they were injecting something on the tiles, maybe testing something, but it's only part of the nose cone. This is part of the nose cone of ship 40. We've seen the same work on ship 39, the one for flight 12, the next flight of Starship. And it's like the left side, if you look at the ship from the heat shield side, it's like the left side of the ship has these drill holes on them and on the tiles, and then the right side is clean. And it's always on the tiles that are pinned. The ones that are glued, for example, at the top of the nose cone, they are not drilled, which is really interesting. So I really wonder what's going on here. EJ, is it because there are blocks?
Let me get my popcorn.
Well, we're not talking about a blade of heat shields here, Alex, so no.
What do you think is going on here? It's obviously an experiment, but...
Yeah, maybe it's an experiment, but I'm not sure what. Why? I don't know why. It looks like they tried to drill where the mechanical adhesion mechanism was, because you said those were the mechanical tiles. They're not.
Yeah, the pins.
They're the ones that like are press on. They're not glued, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure. They could be messing around. Maybe it's for a test with tile thickness or something. I don't know. I mean, because it's very clear that they just drilled the holes and then we're like, all right. You know, they only did it in that one area. They could be testing something to see if that thickness of tile is the right tile for that area. I don't know. Like, that's a very weird one, man. Guys, like, I'm taking shots in the dark here. I have no idea. I have no idea why you'd do that. Holes in the heat shield are not good. We don't want that. We learned that from our discussion earlier, didn't we, Alex?
I do wonder if that's the case. You know, them actually drilling holes in the tiles and saying, let's see what happens. After putting this through... Oh, this one had audio. But yeah, this is ship 40 there in its entirety instead of the close-ups and everything. But yeah, I really wonder if that's the case. You know, we were talking before about being able to test the heat shield and having, being hardware rich. That's an example of that, right? You can test things on your heat shield.
That's exactly what I'm saying, man. Like, SpaceX can just be like, just don't put those tiles on, whatever. It's fine. We'll figure it out. It'll be good.
Also good news, it doesn't have scaffolding. Ship 40 was enclosing scaffolding until like a week ago. It's not. So they can start stagging it on the Mega Bay too. Like they can just roll it out and put it out there. Come on, SpaceX. Start doing that. We want more ships and boosters and everything.
Tron in chat that's dimpling for better flight. I'm not sure that's gonna. I'm not. Yeah, dude. I mean, you never know. I don't think that'll work really well at hypersonic speeds. You know, like, but what do I know? I mean, I don't know. To be honest with you guys, like, and this is what I was trying to say before. We don't like. You have to, like, with reentry, it doesn't matter if you're using an ablator or reusable heat shield. There's really not a good way to test that down here. You know, the best way to test it is to actually go and do it, you know, so that if this is some type of research into, you know, potentially better hypersonic flow over the tiles by dimpling them like that, then yeah, I mean, this would be the way to test it. Who knows? But I can't help but think also in the back of my mind that, I mean, how many TPS tests are you going to do? I don't know. Maybe this is just me being a little bit of a fanboy. Can we just like make one with a full heat shield and have it come through reentry just to make sure it works? Right? Like, right? Like, I want to see one that doesn't have holes in the heat shield, you know? I want to see how that one works, man. Elon, come on. Let's go. Enough with the hole experiments, man.
Here's my thought on this, though.
Get this thing to the moon. Remember?
Gareth Hole had a good point that goes along with this, and I agree. Saying Block 3 has to work. Don't mind them taking a bit longer to get it right instead of rushing it, which I agree. But at this point now, if you haven't decided on a heat shield and you're still experimenting, you go, oh yeah, they're hardware rich. They can, you know, try multiple things to see what works. If you have a vehicle that fails on Block 3, even if it is, hey, we might lose it during heat shield testing because we're trying different designs. If you're already on Block 3 and you lose a ship because of a heat shield issue, in my opinion, that's a bigger problem. Version 1, obviously we expected it. Version 2, I get they're still learning. But if you're so satisfied now that we're on to version 3, and we really want to be able to use this as the main version to start launching actual Starlinks into orbit, to eventually be able to allow Artemis 3 to occur by what the president is currently stating is before the end of 2028, then you can't be losing ships to something as silly as that.
Yeah.
I don't know if people agree or disagree with me on that.
That's kind of what I'm saying, Sawyer. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. That's, dude, there's how many holes you gonna poke in this thing? Like, dude, we have an expedited plan to get back to the moon in 2027, 2028. Okay, all right, that 2027 is 11 months away. Okay, that's 11 months. All right, 2028 is not that much further either. Like that's all right. How about we get one working? Like we should probably do that. Should probably do it. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. And it's also the fact that, you know, if you keep putting holes in the heat shield, then if you want to reuse, 2027 is 11 months away. That's the thing, like if you want that high cadence of launches, it's not just you need the vehicles to be fabricated, but also to reuse them, right? We saw with the super heavy boosters, they can reuse them. We'll see with version 3 how long they take to be able to reuse one. But it really doesn't help the case of reusing a ship if you're poking holes in the heat shield just to find the failure point. And now they come with like a flap that it's like half melted and they have holes in the tanks and everything. Like, come on, just land one that it's clean and then, you know, you can reuse it. And now you reuse it and you can launch again and you can get more data and you can, you know, do Artemis stuff and all. Like, that's the point, right? It's the core of the whole thing, and it just feels like, please let these just be the last 2 vehicles that get any heat shield testing, because I really want them to fly one that is clean. And in that same note of more launches, ASAU, the air separation unit, I'm seeing already Kevin preparing that. So they're starting to put together bigger pieces of the air separation unit that you can see there, that way. So that is great news, because once it's built, they'll have more propellant without needing to drag it in, right? And so that's, Starship will fly again many times. But yeah.
Yeah, but you said it will fly again. It needs to be able to come back in one piece and then eventually catch the ship to be able to do that. So the ship portion of Starship can also fly again. Again, like you said, the booster, they've gotten pretty good at that. Hopefully it's the same with Block 3 in that they're easy enough to catch and then refurb and reuse. The ship has always been the issue of recent with these. the booster's been doing great. The ship has been the cause of concern. I get people saying, yeah, well, it's like Block 4 to Block 5 of Falcon. I kind of get that, but Block 4 had a lot more flight provenness before they upgraded to Block 5. And I see Eric going crazy about the reuse requirement is why the heat shield is so complex. And I get that too, but at the same time, if you really want to be able to hit the timelines you're talking about, you can't keep losing ships or, like you said, flaps melting, things like that. I get you need to keep testing until you find what works. But if you're saying this is the one that's going to be our main payload deployer, that we're going to catch, the first one will be Block 3, that we will use this so we can eventually get on to Artemis 3, you gotta have it work. As dumb as that sounds, you can't be saying, oh, it was, we were testing something, so it's okay that it failed. I feel like this is the point in Starship's life where it gets less and less okay if it fails the further along we go. I get maybe the first Block 3 has some issues, maybe the second, get that. But beyond that, I feel like this has to work.
Sawyer, fellas, they moved all the scaffolding off that thing. They're just moving it down the line at Starbase. Fellas, I think they're going to take those tiles off and put new ones on. Now that I'm really thinking about this, so I think you're right. You're absolutely right. There's no way that SpaceX doesn't know that. You know what I mean? They know that they got to get this stuff working. And like I said that myself. Like that, I'm pretty sure we might be reading too much into this. Like it might be a thermal protection system test, or the ship 40 nose cone rolls down a little bit further down its assembly line, and they put the scaffolding up, and they take all the tiles off, and then they put new ones on. There's no way they don't know it.
If it rolls further down, its next step is to go to Mega Bay 2 to get stacked on the...
It's at the very end, huh?
Yeah, that's the last step. It was already stacked a while ago to its payload bay section. So the next thing will be to roll it out to Mega Bay 2 and now get the forward dome section, common domes, all of the different barrel sections.
Now, Alex,
I moved Tuesday, by the way.
Alex, I got a question then. You know how these things go together better than anybody. Is it possible that they could reapply those tiles? And I mean, dude, you're pretty good at it, all right? Don't be modest.
Yeah, we have very little time, and I still have one thing left to talk. But originally we thought that it was to remove the tiles, because to remove the tiles, what they do is they they drill into where the pins are located. They remove the pins and then they break out the tiles, and so that's what we thought they were doing initially. But it's been like a month already since they started this, and they have not removed a single tile. So, and now they've done it also to Ship 39, and also the A/B testing of like one side having the drills and the other side not. But the other piece that I was going to mention very quickly, we have 3 minutes, is that Pad 1...
I have other things to do here.
Yeah, sorry. Pad 1 is getting its foundations for the new launch mount and flame trench design. Flame trench, I said it. So there you can see the piles are being driven already to the ground for those foundations. So, huzzah! We have construction.
We could talk more about that in the post-show, but let me really quickly thank some people. Drunar saying rock auto brake pads on a Bugatti, #Orion heat shield. Hey, the heat shield, did you hear about that? Jimmy Yoder, Rocket Lab is making profit with electrons. They probably have more runway than a startup, but they need to get Neutron running to get at the market. Also saying they're positioning themselves to take over the medium lift market when SpaceX sunsets Falcon 9, just like they've taken over the small lift market. Stuart Young, what if the common dome and hot stage truss is that much stronger than the structure below? Might not be a big deal. Saw a bunch of people mentioning that. And Stuart also coming in with a super chat saying maybe doing destructive testing of a booster stage to support a ship with the new structure booster body broke, not the common dome and truss. Good? So, again, lots of stuff to think about there. But thank you all for the support. Of course, we also have to thank our flight engineers and launch directors, there we go, who are the highest level of support here at NSF. We could not do what we do without the amazing support that we get, and these are the highest levels, and we appreciate each and every name on there except Jack Byer. Thank you so much, everybody. And I need to thank the people that were with me here today. EJ, thank you for not taking the hosting role this time.
Yeah, you're welcome, man, I think. Thank you very much for having me. Guys, it's a privilege being on here. I try to bring my A game, try to talk about interesting stuff, so we have something to talk about here. I stream over on Twitch if you want to check me out over there, and double stream to YouTube, twitch.tv/EJ_SA. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege being on here, and I don't take it lightly.
Very much appreciate that. Also, thank you for joining us, Alex. Good to have you back on.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks already, and you know what they say, if you want a neutron to not pop, just slap another proton, and that's how you get a stable nucleus. But anyways, I had to let out a bit of a physics joke, I
you
guess. But,
nerd.
Nerd.
But anytime, of course, we have many more streams, right, Sawyer, coming up soon?
Oh, we sure do. We've got a couple launches coming up, including one on Monday with Falcon 9. We, of course, have everything going on with the Artemis 2, so you can stay tuned for all of that. And don't forget, we also have the serious news show, This Week in Spaceflight, coming up in just about a minute. So thank you, Kevin Michael Reed, as well, for producing. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for this episode of The Flame Trench. Now let's go watch Twists.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a curble? Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly! Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.